It is 6:32, and I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Committee on Ordinance to order. Today is Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. The members present are myself, I'm the chair, Rebecca Lisi, Holyoke City Councilor at Large. We are missing tonight the vice chair, Juan Anderson Burgos, who has a family matter to deal with, and Linda Bacon from Ward 5 is not able to join us this evening either. So we're left with Terry Murphy representing Ward 2 of the city and Libby Hernandez representing Ward 4 of the city. We have a number of special permits on our agenda tonight. I believe that when Ryan set up the meeting, he asked folks to have a short presentation available. If you want to use the screen share function, we can enable you to do that. The idea here is to walk us through your plans, give us a sense of who you are and why you're coming to the city of Holyoke. And then we have the review of both our city engineer, Bob Parent, who I think I saw pop in on the side here. So he may be able to speak to any outstanding questions that are included in the reviews that he's provided. And then we also have the planning department reviews of the different applications and how well they meet the ordinance standards that we have set forth. So I don't believe we've received meeting minutes as of yet, so I'm going to say that we could leave item number 1 on the table. And then is there anyone here representing Exotica Farms at the moment? So we'll leave them for later, but they did request a continuance, and I thought we would just get that out of the way if there was someone here representing them. Otherwise, we'll just.
I'm sorry, Rebecca. Somebody just called me, and this is Denise Tice from Exotica Farms.
Okay, give me one moment because we haven't gotten to that part of the meeting. But if you're here, we'll take it up first. I'd like then to entertain a motion to suspend the necessary rules to proceed out of order to take up special permit item number 5.
Item 5 or 6?
I'm sorry, it is 6, Exotica Farms.
And this is just to?
It's just to continue as far as I understand, but there is someone on the phone representing them, and we could let them speak to that.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at it from a perspective, if we're dealing with it and we're going to continue at another meeting is what I'm hearing. We have
no review of their application. I don't believe that it's been fully submitted, and so we're not going to be able to make a decision.
That's fine. Otherwise, we have the agenda. But yeah, I'll second the motion to go out of order and take up item 6.
Thank you. So the motion has been made and seconded to proceed out of order to take up item number 6. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. So moved. Okay, I think we do have Denise on the line here. I do just want to read into the record the communication that we received on going back and forth between the computer and the phone here. Excuse me for one moment. Okay, so this is the email that was received on July 27th, sent from Terrence Reynolds, who's from the engineering firm. Hi, Rebecca. Exotica Farms at 5 Appleton Street would like to ask for their hearing to be continued to the next available meeting. Please let me know if any other further action is needed. Can you please provide a schedule for the upcoming meetings? Thank you, Terrence Reynolds, PE. So the members of the committee here will have to set a date and time certain to continue this hearing. We do have Denise on the call here. So if Denise, you want to speak to this at all.
And I just want to let you know, and I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I have Karen Talton as well. She wasn't able to get onto the computer, but I have her on speakerphone. Karen is the COO of Exotica Farms. So I'm going to try to see if she can put something on the record. Karen, can you speak?
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello?
Hi, Karen, we could hear you.
Hi, how are you?
Good. We just read into the record the email that Terrence Reynolds sent requesting the continuance.
Okay, so basically what's happening is we would like to not ask for a continuance actually and be able to be heard tonight if possible. I know we're 6th on the agenda and would be more than happy to wait, obviously.
You're welcome to wait, but we don't have a review from the planning department. We only have a review from the DPW, so we're not going to be able to render a decision this evening. So I don't know if that affects your decision to wait, or if you'd like to just accept the continuance.
Carrie Reynolds has a plan to show you. I did speak to someone from planning actually just a few minutes ago. I had received a call about this. There isn't a lot of change to the outside of this, and planning had known. He said he would have absolutely have done this. We do have the review from the engineering department. There's a particular reason I would like to be heard and have Terry on the line doing it, and he's in another meeting at this moment. And that's why I'm wondering if it's okay if we go back to the 6th on the agenda.
Yeah, it's fine, but I do want to make clear that we do not, as the ordinance committee, have a review of the application from the planning department. So you could wait, you know, in queue for you to come up in the agenda here, but we're not going to be able to make any decisions without a review from the planning department. So
I'm going to make a motion that we go back to the original agenda and take up item 2.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so item number 2 is a special permit application from Tigertown. So let me just pull up the details here. Sorry about this. Special permit application of Tigertown LLC to operate an RME 7.10.6 adult use retail marijuana facility at 56 Jackson Street. Who's representing Tigertown on the call here tonight?
Hi, I'm Rich Rainone. I'm representing Tigertown along with Peter Kasabian. My development manager is also on the line and will answer any questions that you might have about the proposed retail site going up at 56 Jackson.
Okay, and then Peter, is that who it was?
Peter Kasabian.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Kasabian. Okay, so do you want to walk us through who Tigertown is, what their plans are for coming into the city, and then we can review the reviews?
Sure. Peter, you want to kick off?
Sure. Where the project site is 56 Jackson Street in Holyoke, Mass. It's an existing industrial building that we're going to repurpose as an adult use retail marijuana facility. We plan to hire approximately 24 new employees, of which 66% will be full-time, the other 33% will be part-time, and those jobs will all have benefits as well. Are there any specific questions you have about our plans there at 56 Jackson Street at this time?
No, we haven't gotten to that part. So do you want to say anything else about the mission or, you know, if
No,
not,
not
we'll go
at this
through the
time.
plan.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, so then the review that we have from the DPW reads, Dear Councilor Lisi, the Department of Public Works has reviewed the information submitted to support the special permit application for an RMRE at 56 Jackson Street. And here are the following comments. If the City Council approves the proposed parking layout on the east side of South Ray Street, it will be necessary to post the canal side of the street as no parking to provide enough paved surface and travel and staging of public safety vehicles. The City Council may have already just addressed this through a recent ordinance change.
And we have.
Okay, thank you. DPW has requested that the applicant construct an asphalt sidewalk along South Ray Street for at least 100 feet south of the building to provide a safe route outside of the travelway to get from on-street parking to the applicant's facility. The applicant has proposed a crushed stone pathway instead, citing potential Conservation Commission permitting concerns as well as the cost of the sidewalk. And then in bold print, it says the DPW has already considered the cost by allowing asphalt sidewalk instead of a concrete sidewalk at this location and recommends that the City Council make this a requirement of project approval, subject to approval by the Conservation Commission. So we'll want to hear more about that in a moment. The applicant is requesting that the City Council allow the applicant to create head-in parking spaces in front of their building with the public right-of-way. If this is approved, the spaces should not be for the exclusive use of Tigertown's customers or its employees. No signage that would suggest otherwise should be installed. In the event that the city needs to make future utility or other improvements to this area, the applicant should understand that these parking areas may need to be modified or eliminated. Since this project does not significantly modify any existing impervious area or create any new impervious area, this project is exempt from the Holyoke stormwater regulations adopted May 17th, 2010. Please note, however, that the application for a permit may be required in the future if existing impervious areas in excess of 2,500 square feet are disturbed, repaved, or otherwise expanded or altered. And then 5, the applicant has submitted a, quote, surge plan that largely addresses opening days concerns similar to other retail marijuana approvals. We recommend that the City Council consider the following standard condition with the understanding that it could be waived at a later date as the industry matures. So the applicant shall submit a traffic and parking mitigation plan to the city engineer at a minimum of 45 days in advance of beginning retail sales. This mitigation plan is to be subject to the review of the city engineer and the city public safety officials. Opening of the facility is not to occur until all concerns of these departments have been addressed and the plan has been approved by the engineer. All costs associated with preparing and implementing this plan are to be borne by the applicant. The traffic and parking mitigation plan is to be updated as needed to respond to any issues that occur when a facility is in operation. The requirements of this plan may be reduced or waived by the engineer. I'll go on to the planning department comments unless there's a committee member that wants to touch on any of those items that the city engineer. Okay, Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, first of all, a lot of these things, I met with Peter after I got the letter. We met and went over some of these things. So the very item 1, we just passed an ordinance. I believe we passed it in June to create the no parking on the canal side, which is a request from the fire department on South Ray Street, and also to create 30-minute parking. I believe we were talking somewhere around 4 to 6 spaces on the east side of South Ray Street. And I think that's pretty much all set. In terms of the sidewalk, we walked the property the other day, and I do have a question. I can understand going from the building to the next building, but I think the recommendation, I think 100 feet takes us beyond his property and starts to go into someone else's property. So I think we need to make sure that we're not extending a walkway and ending that walkway somewhere halfway or a third of the way past someone else's property. I'm pretty sure it's only between 80 and 85 feet from the property line of 56 Jackson to the next property line on South Ray Street. So that's a concern I had. That might be just a matter of getting a measurement that's not going to put us in a situation where we're having him put a parking or having him put a walkway where someone may not want one. Because I think there's a traffic entry there too. And then as I understand it, regarding the head-on parking spaces, it's my understanding he's in full agreement to make it public, but I think one of his goals, and I asked him to correct me if I'm wrong, was to have 2 parking spaces for people with disabilities. And so that customers would have access, easy access, and that those would be reserved for customers or for people with disabilities to be able to park. And if I could ask that question to Peter, I would appreciate that.
Yes, Terry, that is correct. That was our intention at those parking spot locations.
Okay. And other than that, Madam Chairman, he's been very, very, very reasonable in terms of meeting. Whenever a concern came up, we've gone over them. We've met and we've discussed things in terms of all the issues. So I'm very pleased with what I've seen so far.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Councilor Hernandez, looks like she's all set. So I'll go on to the planning department review. This comes to us with a number of comments from Tigertown because I understand that they've been in touch since February. So this comes to us from Jeff Burkott. And yep, so Tigertown LLC is looking to re-tenant a 5,000 square foot portion of an existing building located at 56 Jackson Street.
This is Terry.
We're not up to your item yet,
They're
Terry.
they're not gonna hear it then.
It's out of order, I'm sorry. So let's see. These are the comments. So it's properly, it's permitted district. The application has submitted names and addresses of all the owners. The lease agreement has been submitted. And I believe that we have a notarized agreement from the property owner approving that use. We have a notarized list of all the owners. The activities on this site will be the on-site sale of marijuana, sales of adult use marijuana and related products. So it's not any on-site use, it's just the sales of adult use products. They have submitted a security plan to the police chief that has been approved. Let's see. There was something with the lighting that appeared confusing, and Tigertown LLC comments that they will have adequate lighting around the perimeter of the facility, burglar alarm, 24-hour surveillance cameras, directional signage, fencing strategically located, a sally port for secure deliveries, and meet all code requirements. So then we go on to a locus plan, an improvements plan, a building plan, and further details. So the plans that were submitted as of March 6th are considered final? No, we have a 3.5, right? The 3.5 version that is the final plan? Okay. So the NSEW directions seem to be askew. DIS and TIS conflicting with bearings. TIS says Jackson Street east-west, and TIS says South Ray Street north-south. DIS, page 1, says parking lot to the west and should be south based on the TIS. Somebody from Tigertown want to explain the way that this has been resolved according to the comments?
That was a typo in the traffic impact statement. We revised it and we resubmitted it to Jeff Burkott in planning.
I'm not really sure that that's an accurate statement. Not because Jackson Street is east-west and South Ray Street is north-south. So if that's what they have, that is correct.
The parking lot to the west. Is that correct?
No, that would be incorrect. The parking lot should be south of their building.
Yeah, I think that's the amendment that they were looking for.
Okay. Oh, I thought they were saying all of them. Okay.
Yeah. So approval for stripe spaces on the street remain public. So they acknowledge that The striped spaces on the street will remain public spaces. Development schedule proposed or projected timing. This has been submitted to the city clerk, and I don't have a copy of it before me. It would be electronic. So can you just talk about the development schedule and the timing of the project?
Sure. We're looking to get started right away with construction. We've submitted to the building and fire department for our permitting. We have also submitted a completed set of plans to the Cannabis Control Commission for their architectural review, which I believe will be completed within 1 week. So we're ready to get going soon. If we start construction in August sometime, we'll be open at the latest in December.
Yeah, just adding one thing to that. The CCC has approved our architectural review. They've approved our plans pending the special use permit. So they're just waiting for the special use permit, and that's the last item they need. Everything else is already checked out for them. They called me last week and told me it was approved.
Okay,
Pending
great.
special use.
Thanks for that. So regarding the development impact statement, Tigertown does not anticipate any problems with the new retail adult use marijuana development. However, if there is a problem, we will work closely with the city of Holyoke to mitigate those problems. Regarding the development impact statement, part D, Jackson Street is an existing vacant industrial building that we are performing an adaptive reuse to the existing structure. Part E, the existing vacant industrial building is getting an adaptive reuse. Yeah, so do you want to talk about what exactly is happening inside the building for adaptive reuse? How much construction, how much you're going to be taking down and renovating?
So we're going to keep the existing structure, and we're going to renovate the entire second floor of the building. It's approximately 5,000 square feet. So there'll be all new interior finishes. The exterior, we're doing some work out there on the South Ray Street side, creating a nice new storefront, as well as adequate lighting on the exterior as well. Seal coat in the parking lot, line striping out there, some wayfinding signs outside. We're going to be making some improvements towards the rear of the building for shipping and receiving, secured shipping and receiving, as well as a stairway that's going to go from the parking lot to the South Ray Street elevation to make it easier for our customers to get in and out of the facility from that parking lot.
Okay, great. They do not anticipate any impact on the intersections adjacent to or within a quarter mile, although the engineer has requested the traffic mitigation plan for opening day and the surge plan. Let's see. So development impact statement H, within the parking area, which one, rear or Ray Street? What about parking area? Photometric seems to be concentrating light to the west of the site and not the Sallyport area to the east. And this has been revised to say that the 2 LED light poles are proposed within the rear of the parking lot to ensure adequate lighting for public safety. In addition, wall pack lighting on the building is going to be the proposal for complementing the 2 new light poles. Proposed lighting has been implemented to promote a well-lit and safe environment for customers while being cognizant of glare and spillover into neighboring properties. And they shall implement dark sky technology and be fitted with cutoff shields. Traffic impact statement, hard and digital copies were missing pages 2 and 5. Page 2 was the traffic impact statement figure 1, and page 5 was traffic impact and page 5 of the traffic impact statement is figure 2. Planning still wants to know if you have provided those figures 1 and 2, because we do not have them at the moment.
We have provided those.
Okay. And then Please provide they're still saying as of the 17th. So this is as of the 17th. Since the 17th, between then and now, you have been able to provide figures 1 and 2 because they're missing as of the 17th.
They should have figures 1 and 2. That was actually in the original submission.
Okay.
If that's still missing, I can resend it.
That sounds like a good idea. I think we may also just make it a condition so that we do have it.
Sure.
Let's see if there's anything else outstanding here.
That was figure 1 and 2 of the traffic impact statement.
Pages 2 and 5 of the traffic impact statement.
And that's figure 1 and 2, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Tigertown. Okay, so regarding the traffic impact statement, so the planning department writes, knowing parking is going to be limited on South Ray Street, and it's estimated that will be 72 customers per hour. How many of those customers coming by way of motor vehicle? Is there a way to direct customers to the parking spaces in the rear of the building? I think you mentioned already that there's going to be directional signs. How can the site manage 72 customers per hour at peak? And after some back and forth with the planning department, Tigertown writes on 7/22 that the 72 customers per hour and 600 trips per day, most customers will be visiting by foot, bicycle, and vehicle means. To provide a conservative analysis of the trip generation was calculated using the entire customer base. Oh, I see. So the conservative estimate was expecting that everybody's coming by vehicle, although the expectation is that they're coming by a variety of means, right?
That's correct.
As well as multiple customers per vehicle.
So just going on, so I don't know if you have the review in front of you, but we're up to item number 15 at this point. The traffic impact statement, section E. The planning department writes, can the applicant please explain how the proposed design and layout minimizes traffic and safety impacts? Will employees have designated parking? Tigertown did respond on 6/18, saying that the site will be improved with the addition of pavement markings and signage for access and site circulation for both vehicle and pedestrian access to the site and building to improve existing conditions, which are presently undefined and uncontrolled. However, the planning department still wants to know if employees are going to have designated parking.
What was the question?
The planning department wants to know if you expect that employees will have designated parking.
As of right now, we do not plan to have designated parking for employees.
Okay, so then I think that keeps you within the requirements, the parking requirements that are there for the number of on-site parking spaces.
Okay.
Let's see if there's anything else here that is outstanding. Yep, so we're up to item number 17 regarding the traffic impact statement. Planning writes, can the applicant further explain how pedestrians and cyclists will access the facility once they leave the public right-of-way? Would the applicant consider adding a bicycle rack to encourage non-motorized customer visits? Tigertown writes, so noted, a bicycle rack has been incorporated to facilitate the use of this mode of transportation. Signage will also be provided on South Ray Street to direct pedestrians to the entrance of the building. And then planning further writes on 7/22, would the applicant consider relocating the proposed bicycle rack to the vicinity of the front door?
As of right now, we have the bicycle rack designed to go in the parking lot. And that's a good fit for us. We'd like to keep it there. However, if it's a condition, we'll relocate it.
Okay, so right now you're going to leave the bike rack in the parking lot.
We would like to, yes.
Okay. Let's see. The surge plan was submitted and that's been reviewed. Just scanning here, looking for anything else that's outstanding. Regarding signs, the planning board just wants to emphasize that building signage in your plan illustrates what appears to be a rooftop sign. And section 6.4.3 special regulations 3 height of our own ordinances says that no sign shall be higher than the height limit for the district in which it is located, and no sign shall be located upon the roof of any building. So I think you need to let us know some other plans for the building signage. If the rooftop sign is still the plan that you're working with, it needs to be amended.
We're going to adjust the rooftop sign since it's not allowed by Holyoke. We're going to delete it and we're going to put a sign on the side wall of the building, on the parking lot side of the building.
Okay. Thanks for that. And let's see. Okay, we're up to 28 in the comments. Where a required off-street parking space is in the form of a parking lot or other open air parking space, it shall not be located within 5 feet of a street line or within 5 feet of any other lot line. Greater setbacks may be required in specific instances elsewhere in this ordinance. Tigertown on 6/18 responds that all proposed parking areas have been located in previously paved areas which have historically been used for parking. Relief from this requirement is respectfully requested. And the planning board writes on 7/17 that the request for relief from zoning requirements can be made to the ZBA, the Board of Appeals. So it's not something that we can grant you here. It needs to be requested formally to the Board of Appeals, and then they would have to approve it formally.
Okay.
So we're going to need to ensure that that is a condition.
That would be a condition for the special use permit to receive the special use permit?
That you have to figure out a solution. I don't think we're going to say you have to get the relief in order to move forward. I think you need to figure out a solution. So either you're getting the relief from the ZBA, or you're going to have to meet the greater setbacks.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's all of the outstanding comments here. Okay, so it seems like the two big things that we need to kind of keep our eyes out on are the measurement of that walkway, to make sure that the 100 feet south of the building is not infringing or encroaching on any neighboring property.
Correct.
So I think we need to make that a condition that's reviewed, and that we would want it to be the full 100 feet, so long as it's not encroaching upon any neighbor's property. And so we need to have another measurement done there.
So we just amend that to be from the south part of Tigertown, or that property, to the sidewalk, to the next person's property line, next business's property line. It's going to be somewhere in that 85 feet, I think. But that way we aren't specific to the size of it, but we are saying that we're not taking Tigertown's walkway and bringing it past someone else's property, which they don't have authority to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we are getting the sidewalk in, and we're telling them where it has to be, but we're not making it a dimensional thing.
Sure, I'll accept that as a motion and second it, that we amend the engineer's comment number 2 to say that the applicant shall construct an asphalt sidewalk along South of Ray Street for at least as many feet south of the building to provide a safe route outside of the travel way without encroaching on the abutting property line.
Yeah, that's good enough. It makes the point.
Thank you.
Okay, so then on that amendment, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. And then, I don't have a copy of the general 5 conditions that we typically put on here. Ryan, are you in the background there?
Yeah, I'm right here, Rebecca. What's going on?
I just need a copy of the 5 or 6 typical amendments that we put on as conditions.
I can email that to you momentarily, Rebecca.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so are there any other questions or comments that we want to make on this application at this point in time?
Yeah.
Councilor?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Libby.
Councilor Murphy said
Yeah, I'm working from my phone, so sorry, I don't have my laptop.
You're good, Libby. I always.
Oh, I'm good. Okay.
You got it, Libby. You got it. I'll wait and I'll answer after you. Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to ask, can you guys develop on? I know, Rebecca, that you mentioned that I think it was the planning department asked about where the bike rack was gonna go and wanted it moved somewhere else. Why is that?
They don't really give a reason. I think it's just my assumption. It's just an assumption, and I don't think we have anyone here from planning. Okay. Is that it becomes more easily accessible for people who are going to be going into a building to see that there's a bike rack there, as opposed to going around the building and putting your bike somewhere in the parking lot to then enter the front door when.
Okay.
I think it's just logistics.
Okay.
I think it sounds fine to have it in the parking lot. I hope it's towards the building and not away from the building if it is going into the parking lot. Does that sound to be the case, Peter?
It is towards the abutter's property line. We could fit one in the front of the building. I was just trying to avoid putting it near those parking spaces, those ADA parking spaces. And I don't want to block the walkway. And we also have a telephone pole out there as well. It may get a little tight in there if we add a bike rack, and then if there's bicycles there attached to it as well. I was just concerned about customers like bumping into it and it being in the way. That's why.
And then in the back, if you're in the back and you're putting it closer to the abutter's property as opposed to your own building, does that make sense at all, or does that not make sense for like the way people would be walking around from a bike rack into the building?
The bike rack is located near the stairway to the South Ray Street entrance. It's approximately 30 feet away. Okay,
so then it seems like there's a, I guess, intuitive way to get into the building from the bike rack. All right.
Great, thank you.
So, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Murphy.
Okay, so I'm just a couple of things. And Peter, I'm going to ask you another question. So that stairway from the parking lot off the canal on Main Street, you got a stairway coming up to the South Ray Street entrance?
That's correct.
Okay. And so there's only one entrance and one exit, correct?
There's one there's one customer.
Okay, that's what I mean. Okay, one customer. Okay, and that's on South Ray Street.
Oh, I can take these.
Yes.
It is on South Ray, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, and Madam Chair, the question I have in the parking lot situation where they're asking for potentially having to get a variance. I mean, that's been a parking lot for a long time. I'm assuming, first of all, I'm assuming most of the spots are adjacent to the canal and not to a street. Or are they right on the street, Peter?
All of the parking spaces and the parking lot south of the building that's with 56 Jackson Street.
Yeah.
They're not near the canal. They run along the building, the
Okay.
existing brick building, and then on the opposite side of the property line, south of that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really think there'd be a parking issue there, but okay, thanks.
Do you have the comments, Councilor Murphy? It's comment number 28.
Yeah, no, I have 'em. And I did see, I did see it. I just was like, I didn't quite, having walked by that many times in my life and a few other things, I just thought it would be okay, but obviously not. So that's okay.
Right. If let's just say, Peter, if the ZBA doesn't grant you relief, what would be the plan then?
Well, we would only need relief for, say, roughly 50% of the parking. Alternatively, we could lease parking space close by from another landlord or purchase a lot.
Are there adjacent lots, or would it be something?
There are some adjacent lots.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot across the street on Jackson Street. There's lots nearby.
Okay, so I think we're not going to dictate how it is mediated, but it needs to be item number 28 needs to be conditioned that is satisfied one way or another.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we made the amendment, so I don't think we need to make a condition of the amendment for the sidewalk. We are going to make a condition of item number 28, so that the parking issue is either settled by relief from the ZBA, or additional parking is secured by the applicant. And then there's 6 typical conditions that we put on all the permits. It's just standard procedure at this point in time, so I'll read them into the record. Number 1, that the owner of the building always pay commercial property tax rate to the extent allowed by federal, state, and local laws for the duration of the special permit. Number 2, that that the business retain a minimum of 30% Holyoke residents for non-security jobs. That hiring preferences be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police or are a retired member of another police department who now lives in the city of Holyoke. There shall be no marijuana consumption on site. There shall be no deliveries of retail or medical marijuana from the site to individual homes, residences, or people. And number 6, that the hours of operation be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Do you understand all those conditions?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great.
Yes,
and then, great. Okay, so then is there a motion to approve this special permit?
I make a motion to approve it.
Okay, I'll second it.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the special permit with the 7 conditions that we just read into the record, the 6 typical conditions, and then also that some sort of solution is resolved regarding comment number 28 with the parking. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved, 3-0. So this is a recommendation of the Ordinance Committee. It'll be forwarded to the full City Council, and we are meeting on August 4th next, and we'll take that item up there for approval by the full City Council.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate everybody's help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, so item number 3 is a special permit application amendment for a marijuana manufacturing establishment of Milltown Agriculture LLC. Special permit would allow for marijuana manufacturing, cultivation, and extraction facility at 1 Cabot Street And do we have somebody here representing Milltown then?
Yes, that is me, Jason Morissette.
Great, thanks, Jason. Let's see, let's pull up Milltown stuff. Yes, 1 and 2. Okay, so on the motion to take up item number 3, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. We have Jason Morissette here representing Milltown. Jason, do you want to give us an overview of who Milltown is and what your plans are in the city?
Sure. Yeah. Milltown Agriculture is mostly me and a couple of partners. It's a small, or we intend it to be a small cultivation facility in 1 Cabot Street. You may be familiar with 1 Cabot Street already, as a special permit has been approved for 4 trees in that location, both I believe for retail and cultivation. We would be downstairs and way to the back of the building from them. We are initially looking at a 15,000 square foot facility. That's what's in plan right now, with about a little under 4,000 feet of canopy. This is a very low impact business. We expect to expand into the remaining portion of the building, and we have options on the lower level of the building. And so you may see us again looking to take up that in the near future. But for now, we're focusing on the smaller portion of the building. We will be, as you mentioned, cultivating and extracting. So that means 2 licenses from a state perspective, the cultivation and manufacturing license. We do not, however, intend to use the manufacturing license for its other typical purposes like salves or chocolates or those sorts of things. Ours is a pure business to business play. We won't, obviously have a retail location. We will be selling to retailers and other manufacturers. And I think that's about the right summary. I think Jeff Burkott submitted a letter to you that's got, I think we fulfilled, I believe, all the conditions, and then Mr. Parent also submitted some comments. I did want to thank Ryan Allen, Jeff Burkott, and Captain Moriarty, who helped us through this. Excellent public servants, certainly some of the best people I've had the pleasure of working with in town government. So yeah, I'm happy to show you some pictures of the site if you want to see that, but I know you're all pressed for time and you've probably already seen this building before. So yeah.
Sure. If questions come up related to things going on in the building that may be useful, so stand by. I'll go through the city engineer's comments first. Again, this is from our city engineer, Bob Parent. Review the information received by the city clerk, last revised on July 21st to support the permit application for an MME at 1 Cabot Street for Milltown Agriculture. Number 1, since this project does not significantly modify an existing impervious area or create any new impervious area, this project is currently exempt from the stormwater regulations adopted May 17th, 2010. Please note that the application for a permit may be required in the future if existing impervious areas in excess of 2,500 square feet are disturbed, repaved, or otherwise expanded or altered. Number 2, no information is shown on the plan relative to the existing sanitary sewer service. The applicant should be required to locate and verify the condition of the existing service and confirm that it is separate from any roof or storm drains prior to an application for a building permit. Traffic impact resulting from the project are expected to be minor and do not require any off-site mitigation. No surge or opening day plan is required since it's not a retail facility. And then as requested during the DPW review of 4 trees, also located at 1 Cabot, the building owner has developed a master plan for allocating on-site parking spaces. The small parking needs of Milltown Agriculture project have been addressed in this master plan. Okay, so the parking issues seem to be addressed in the master plan for 1 Cabot Street. Among the engineer's comments, it seems that we are still, there's still a question about the existing sanitary sewer service.
Yeah, I can verify, just I've my whole family are plumbers. The existing sanitary service is good, and it is separated from the storm drains. However, I did message with Mr. Parent, and we will make sure that per the request there that it's included in our mechanical plans to demonstrate that in a more official fashion.
Yes, some more formal documentation that it's separate would be become a condition at this point in time.
Yep, absolutely.
The planning department's comments seem a little bit lighter. Go ahead, Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, just I know you're talking right now a very small adjacent operation, but you also sounded like someone who's got bigger plans.
Yes. Yes,
so let's say your bigger plans come to fruition.
Yes.
What would your most optimistic view in terms of number of employees be?
Right now, we're looking at about 15,000 square feet. Our option on the building adds an additional 50,000. So at 15,000 square feet, we're talking 4 to 6 employees. The additional 50,000 should expand the business roughly by 4 to 5. So we're up into the 20, 30 range. Per the city's requirements, of course, we are going to be attempting to hire as much as we can out of the local community.
Right, and the parking plan that's already designed by the landlord,
yeah,
I'm assuming is allowing you 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep, and you'll see it clouded on the plan right now. I think there's 4 spots clouded on the plan.
So should you expand, we're going to have to figure out another parking.
Absolutely. There'll be a lot to address once we get to the expansion plan around sally ports and movements in and out of the building, because a little 15,000 square foot corner of the building is a lot different than a 50,000 or 65,000 combined square foot facility.
Okay,
absolutely.
Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as I understand it, any expansion would mean an amendment or new special permit, so you'd have to come before this body again, and then that sort of parking dilemma would be figured out at that point in time.
Exactly, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then the planning department's comments are a bit lighter. So it looks like everything has been addressed. The host community agreement has been signed. Notarized statement of representatives. The security plan has been approved by Chief Febo. And traffic impact statement, locust plan, site improvements. Okay, so here's a question. So related to the improvements plan, the planning board writes, they want to know, sorry, it's the planning department, how will waste material, either administrative, food waste, or cannabis itself be managed on site?
Yeah, if you look at the special permit, let me see if I can find the page so I can get you right to the appropriate location. You will see a detail of our Sally Port. It's called Sally Port Overview. I think it's on page 10. And it provides
if you have it, do you mind putting it up on the screen?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Let me share that. Host disabled participant screen sharing. I'm sorry, I cannot.
Let's see if I could get you that ability. I think it's because I presently don't have, Ryan, are you on the call still?
Yeah, I'm right here, Rebecca.
Oh, Ryan, can you give Jason host ability so that he can share his screen with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
And can you give me host ability too, so that I could do that more easily next time?
You are a co-host right now. Can you hear me, Rebecca?
Yep.
Okay, looks like I can share now.
Thanks.
All right, so I'm sharing. Let me know when you see it.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you look at page 10 in the special application permit, you'll see a 3D rendering of the Sally Port. And the Sally Port is large enough to accompany a delivery vehicle as well as a rolling dumpster in front of it. So we've enclosed the dumpster for taking waste out of the building entirely within the Sally Port. Since it's an enclosed Sally Port, if we're ending up with odor issues, which we expect that we do, we'll be engaging the right odor mitigation, usually activated charcoal filtration.
Okay, so all of the waste material is going to be kept in the rolling dumpster outside of the building, inside the sally port.
That's correct. And it is an enclosed sally port. It's much closer to a garage than, say, a chain link fence or something along those lines.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that.
No problem.
So also, so this is regarding section 7.10.6.2 details. The applicant has included a ramp and site details plan. Yep. And the planning department just notes that any fencing or gates installed at the sides or rear of the property in excess of 6 feet in height will be requiring another special permit for exceed fence height of our code of ordinances.
Yeah, there's already surrounding the property a standard height chain link fence topped with barbed wire. So we expect to repair that fence, but establish no new fencing.
Okay, great. Okay. So the plans were received by the clerk's office on February 28th, but then they were amended and received again on 7/22. Are these considered final now? The ones that were received on 7/22?
They are considered final. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so then there's a number of comments here that seem to be addressing some of the issues that came up. I'll just raise them so that it's part of the public record. But the planning board asked if the applicant can further expand on how the proposed development is consistent and compatible with the existing master plan and other similar documents. On 7/22, Milltown writes that the project as proposed complies with the zoning ordinances of the city, but more importantly, we are reusing and redeveloping mill space in accordance with the Holyoke master plan. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that at all.
Yeah, it's an important part of the way that we're doing business, that we are reusing mill assets. In fact, some of you may know Tom Cusano, who owns that building, and he is a passionate mill owner. He owns several of them around New England. And so what you would see if you entered our facility is that it is the former pulp tanks for the paper mill, which, in case you've never seen that, they look like giant brick ovens of about 10 feet wide and 20 feet long. So we're reusing all of those. There's almost no structural modifications that will be made to the property. We're largely doing cleanup and then mechanical changes. But we're even going to be, for the most part, restoring most of the original windows to the building. So our goal is reuse above all things, both to save costs, but also because we just like it.
Thank you. Regarding the development impact statement, can you further explain the impacts that the proposed development will have on all streets and intersections in relation to the proposed employees and vendors? And then on 7/22, Milltown writes, with under 10 employees and only a few shipments per week, we do not expect any measurable impact on the streets or intersections adjacent to the project. Per our traffic plan, we will represent less than an 8% increase in the traffic from the existing approved special permit from 4 trees. Additionally, we will be hiring locally as much as possible and encouraging the use of public transportation and bikes. We will have storage space inside our lobby for employee bikes. Great, I've seen that in a couple of new mill building projects in the area, so that should work out well. Applicants should reach out to the city engineer regarding impervious areas. We've already addressed that. And then they ask, can you further explain how pedestrians and cyclists will access the facility once they leave the public right away? The bike rack has already been added interior, so that should be addressed. The planning department just wants to, so regarding comment number 7, section 6.4 signs, any permanent signage proposed for the site will require a building permit granted by the building commissioner. In order to erect wall signs or any other pole mounted signage or monument signage, details will need to be provided, including the size, location, and materials, and they must conform to all the requirements in the Holyoke zoning ordinances. The city council may also request color samples of materials multiple signs on the wall greater than what is allowed will require a special permit and be reviewed and granted by the planning board. As of right now, one by 3 foot sign is proposed for the southwest corner of the building. What does that signage look like? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, it's shown in the permit. We actually have a picture of it, but it's minimal. The purpose of the sign is to direct people to the entrance of the building and where the deliveries are. It's directions for people entering the property, not advertisement. It's going to be small and just oriented towards directing people. Since we're a business to business scenario and the state can't get enough of what we would be making, there's not really much need to advertise.
Okay. And then finally, can the applicant, in cooperation with the property owner, provide an amended property master plan, which I think is...
It was provided.
Okay. Outlining how the site exterior will be used by the current and future additional tenants. A plan was received as part of the January 8th, 2020 submission, illustrating the first tenant to the multi-tenant structure. So, and it's been updated to...
It has been updated. Yeah. Honestly, the update is extraordinarily minimal. But yes, it has been updated.
Okay, so that's all. That takes care of everything here. Any comments from the counselors?
Just one question, if I can.
Go ahead, Councilor Murphy.
Jason, in terms of employees, I'm assuming there's one entrance, and you
There
have
is.
your own entrance, not through the building.
Correct.
Okay, and from an accessibility standpoint, we're ADA compliant.
It is, yeah, and that was one of the comments. You'll notice that the detail that was needed about handicap ramps
Okay.
from the earlier comment. Yes.
So you're all set for that.
I am. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no other comments, then I think we should just note the 6 conditions, our regular conditions, as well as we need that formal documentation that the existing sanitary sewer service is separate from any roof or storm drains.
For the building permit, though, not for the special permit, I believe. That was what
But we're still going to condition it.
Okay, that's great. Does that mean that means you can still? Gotcha. And so does that mean that the full council can still vote for the special permit? It's just when we come to the building permit portion of this, we have to address it.
So we grant you the special permit, conditional on you meeting all these other requirements.
I understood. Thank you very much. This is city government's a little arcane to me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a way of allowing things to move forward and ensuring that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted before you actually open your doors.
Thank you for that.
I'll make a motion that the special permit be granted with those conditions, and the condition regarding the building permit as well. So.
Second it.
And then, Jason, you were on the call when I read the 6 additional conditions, but.
Yes, the only condition that was slightly strange to me was the hours of operation, because as a cannabis cultivation facility, we tend to be in there more than those hours. Plants don't exactly always conform to business hours. Is that a hard problem?
So it's currently going to be reviewed. There's a number of the industry has changed a lot because we were one of the first communities to draft and adopt a marijuana ordinance. The industry actually has changed alongside of our ordinance. So there's a number of issues, including delivery and hours of operation, that are going to be reviewed, revisited.
Okay.
But right now, our ordinances do say the hours of operation must be between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So I think until we actually change the ordinance, you're bound to that.
Okay. It is what it is.
But is Jason's got a good question, if I can, Madam Chair? If I can?
Please, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, this is a manufacturing facility. If I'm cultivating, I'll use the proper. I used to work in that building, so way back.
So you probably know where the pulp tanks are then.
I knew where a lot of that stuff was. Almost fell off the river a few times, but so, I mean, as I understand it, and from previous other discussions we've had with cultivators, was the idea that it's a 24-hour process.
It is, yeah.
And that it's not that you're going to have 10 people there, but you might have a person or 2.
Correct.
working additional hours. So
Yeah.
if we don't do that, two things. If we can't do that, or if we're not allowed to at this point, so two questions. Number one, does that mean we have fewer employees, which I'm assuming it would? And number two, what does that do to your cultivation success?
Yeah, ultimately, what it does is a couple of things. The first thing that you want to do in a cultivation operation is run your lights in offsetting phases. And in other words, let's say you're during the phase of growth where you're going to have your lights on 12 hours a day. Well, that means you want half of your lights on for the first 12 hours, and then the other rooms have their lights on the other 12 hours. It helps balance electricity and keeps the cost down. And it also ensures that you can kind of optimally disperse your staff. We certainly can operate within those hours. I just would expect that periodically there's going to be an emergency where I have to run down there to take care of something during the off hours, and it's going to cost us more. That's really the net effect, is that we have to operate all of our lights all simultaneously. That increases the load on the Holyoke grid. Not substantially, because we've got a fairly small operation, but as cultivators go overall, I think you would want to find a way to allow them to operate 24 hours. It would benefit both the cultivator and the city's electrical service.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Actually, since we have Crystal on the call here, we should just double check what the ordinance says, because in some ways we shouldn't have to create a condition to emphasize what's already in the ordinance. So I'll entertain a motion to suspend the necessary rules and allow our legal counsel to speak.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, so moved. So Crystal, do you mind just checking the ordinance to see if hours are defined?
Sure. Just give me a minute.
Thank you.
I believe it's just for operational requirements. Operations, including deliveries to and from any facility, may not occur within the hours of 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
So they could be
the only
open.
thing that's actually outlined in the ordinance as of right now?
So it's under 7.10.5, operational requirements.
Yeah, the delivery part certainly makes sense, because, transporting cannabis in the dark of the night certainly is not what you want to do.
Right, but it's operations including deliveries.
I see what you're saying. So it's operations including deliveries. Yeah, I mean, it's something that we have sort of penciled in for September, so I don't think it'll be too long before we are revisiting this, and we can reach out to you and you can comment in public comment there on that on that point. But as of right now, I think it's going to remain a condition.
Yep. Anything we can do to make it work, we'll make it work. Thank you.
Okay, so the 7 conditions here are that we need to have a formal document that verifies the condition and location of the existing sanitary sewer service, that the building owner always pay commercial taxes to the extent allowed by the federal, state, and local laws, that the business retain a minimum of 30% Holyoke residents for non-security jobs, that hiring preferences be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police or retired police in the city of Holyoke. There shall be no marijuana consumption allowed on site. There shall be no deliveries of retail or medical marijuana from the site to individual homes, residences, or people, and that number 6, hours of operation be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Is there a motion to approve the special permit with the 7 conditions?
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, so 3-0 with these 7 conditions.
Good luck, Jason.
Thank you all.
Yes. All right. So moving on to item number 3 in the agenda, We appreciate you all being patient with us in this format, and again, without the supports of the folks that actually wrote these letters. So we're actually up to item number 4 in the agenda, special permit application from Bold Coast Solutions LLC to establish a legal cannabis product manufacturing facility, MME, at 28D Appleton Street, suite number 4. Is there a motion to take item number 4 up off the table?
Motion to take out item 4 off the table.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So, I see Attorney Faradas here. You're representing
Yes.
Bold Coast tonight?
Yes, I am. Counselor Lisi, I'm happy to give an overview. And I think it's very fortunate that we're coming right after Jason, because this operation is in an existing mill building. There'll be no, or just a Sally Port addition on the exterior. It will have its own separate entrance from Canal Street, where the loading dock area is. Will not be connected to any other businesses within overall 28 Appleton Street. And this will only be a manufacturing facility. So the goal here is to buy product from local outdoor farmers in Western Mass, local indoor farmers in Western Mass, and make high quality extracts, so oils, edibles, from the local farms. So it'll be a fully enclosed inside 28D is just a reference to the suite. So it is in the larger building, understood as 28 Appleton Street. There will only be a minimal number of employees, approximately 5, who will be parking on on Canal Street, which has on-street parking. And I would open it up for questions at this point.
So even though cultivation and manufacturing are allowed under the MME, you're looking only to do the manufacturing part of it all. You're getting cannabis from elsewhere, and then you're processing and manufacturing the oils, tinctures, and extracts.
Correct. Yes, the application is just for manufacturing, not for cultivation. That's correct.
Okay, from the city engineer, we have a few comments. These come to us, July 5th is when these comments came through. So since this project does not significantly modify existing impervious areas or create any new impervious areas, the project is exempt from the Holyoke stormwater regulations adopted May 17, 2010. However, a permit will be required if any future changes in excess of 2,500 square feet are disturbed, repaved, or otherwise expanded. Number 2, no information is shown on the plan relative to the existing sanitary sewer service. The applicant should be required to locate and verify the condition of the existing service and confirm that it is separate from any roof or storm drains prior to the application for a building permit. 3, the proposed project will not require permitting by the DPW or Board of Public Works, since the existing curb cut will be retained. The traffic impacts resulting from the project are expected to be minor, will not require any off-site mitigation. Since this is not a retail facility, no opening day plan is required. And then the applicant indicates that employee parking needs will be met through on-street parking and the use of existing municipal lots opposite the building on Canal Street. Please be advised that the use of this lot has increased significantly since the GTI facility at 28 Appleton Street has been in operation, and at some point in the future, the lot may not be enough to meet the parking needs of the surrounding businesses, and the city may want to consider metered parking in the area to incentivize the use of more remote on-parking. The city may want to consider metered parking in the area to incentivize use of more remote on-street parking. So is that saying to create metered parking closer to the building so that the free parking is further and you're starting to disperse people?
Yes. So Bob is saying that the city, not the applicant, but at some point the city might want to consider putting meters in so that those parking close to the building will have to pay.
Right.
So those who don't want to pay have to be a little, 2 blocks away instead of right along the building.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was reading and getting the point across correctly there.
But those, if I can, Madam Chair.
Sure, Councilor Murphy.
But those recommendations are not for, I mean, right now the employees potentially could park on the street or in the adjacent parking lot, correct?
That's correct. There is.
They wouldn't be using meters.
No, there are no meters there now.
Right.
So what Bob is saying is that perhaps in the future, the city might want to consider installing meters in that area because it's becoming a little more crowded than it used to be, which is a good problem to have. That means there's lots of jobs where there weren't before. But he's saying to incentivize people to park further away, you might want to have meters right up against 28 Appleton Street.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there now, though. That would be something the city would consider doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then from the planning department, it looks like there's been quite a bit of back and forth, and things are more or less tidied up. Pending City Council review and approval, points of inquiry that have been resolved will be formatted in gray and italics. So there's been a number of things that are already resolved here. So this is for an MME, marijuana manufacturing establishment. You're also seeking a special permit from the planning board for a fence height for the zoning ordinances. Let's see. So we have the names and addresses of all the owners. The licensure has been submitted to the CCC. The applicant has submitted an option to lease agreement and one amendment between WBC Realty Trust LLC as the property owner and Bold Coast Solutions LLC as the prospective leasee, and a statement notarized by the WBC Realty Trust LLC authorizing the use of the property for licensed marijuana establishment. And the planning staff does not review the property rights in the cases of multiple tenants, but we have the sign off from the property owner, so that should work. We have the notarized list of owners. We have a description of activities which are congruent with the MMA use. The security plan has been submitted and reviewed by the police department. Development impact statement, traffic impact statement have all been submitted. Locust plan, improvements plan, buildings plan. Okay, so here's where some of the outstanding comments were. So the applicant should clarify the subcategory of marijuana establishment special permit being sought in this application, i.e. MME, or some combination. The applicant states that through Bold Coast Solutions, we already know now that it's an MME alone. The disclosure of all activities and the description of activities on premise. The applicant states, in addition to third-party leasing, BCS may also conduct testing in-house as a supplemental best practice. Will this require a testing laboratory license from the CCC? Will BCS be able to conduct testing for external clients requiring a special permit for the marijuana testing facility establishment category per the Holyoke zoning ordinances?
So do you want me to answer these as you're kind of going through, or?
Well, I think we got the first one, so go ahead onto the second one, because there's a number of questions there in the second comment.
Yes, so the whole testing part, would you want me to answer that one next?
Yeah, so are you testing in-house, and does that require a separate license?
No, no. So the manufacturing license, much like GTI upstairs, GTI is allowed to do their own testing, and this facility, Bold Coast, will be allowed to do its own testing, but it will not be testing anybody else's. It's not an independent testing lab, so it will not be testing anybody else's, much like GTI doesn't test anybody else's product. So Bold Coast is going to test its own, but not test anybody else's, and there's no separate license required from the CCC for testing your own products.
Even though GTI came somewhat before the breakdown of all the different sorts of licenses and permits that you'd have to apply for?
That's correct. Yes. Yep. So the CCC requires a license for cultivation, for manufacturing, for a retail dispensary, but does not require a manufacturer. So a cultivator can test their own product, but they don't need a license to do that. It's basically if you were making candy bars in a regular chocolate without any cannabis at all, and you wanted to test your chocolate bars to make sure that they were pure
Quality
and
control.
well, exactly. Thank you very much, Councilor Lisi. It's quality control. Yes. So it's not a formal lab. It's just quality control, but it does have some laboratory instruments in order to maintain quality control.
Okay, so this is an allowed use under the manufacturing license.
Correct.
Okay, so then we can move on to item number 3. Provide a copy of a letter from the Chief of Police stating that HPD's approval of the proposed security plans. We have that. Applicants should provide a copy of their application for licensure. It seems we have that as well per the front page. The applicant should provide the details for the following: pavement markings. The applicant states that no parking spaces or new striping are proposed on the premise. Window treatments are compliant with the security measures for the site. Newly proposed signage shall be installed on the site. Location of signage indicated on sheet A2, BCS entry aerial perspectives. All signage shall be below 1 square foot. Proposed bike rack. So it seems that the planning department was looking for additional details regarding these 4 items. It looks like you gave some updates, but not all. So it seems you've addressed the window treatments and you addressed the signage, but the pavement markings and the bike rack have not been addressed with any other details.
So there is no pavement markings. So I think that addresses the issue. There's no on-site parking, so there will be none. And I believe the bike rack is shown on the site plan in the area of the Sally Port. We also have Zach Cohen with us. And Zach, could you address the bike rack issue, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And in my conversations with Curtis, and there were multiple, he was extremely helpful. He said we were good to go on all 4 of these items, and that the kind of the shading and the formatting for this particular letter might be slightly confusing given kind of the reconciliation across multiple iterations of the special permit. But to Jack's point, no new parking spaces, no new lines, window treatments covered, new signage covered. With the bike rack, given that we're only going to be 4 full-time employees to start, and then potentially up to 9 in the outer years, we've included text in the body of the special permit that indicates that we're completely amenable to setting something up, and would solicit feedback from our employees to understand if that's something that would be helpful to them. And if the answer is yes, then we'll coordinate with the landlord and the city to ensure that it's located in the right area, whether that's within the Sally Port, up on the concrete platform just outside of our primary entrance, somewhere in that Canal Street parking lot or at the front of 28 Appleton. So that'll be something that we can work on in the future if it makes sense and is requested by our employees.
So I think that the answer, Councilor Lisi, is right now there is no proposal for a bike rack, but it would certainly be entertained if there was, and it could possibly be resolved that there's 4 employees and one wants to ride a bike. I'm sure that Zach would allow them to just bring it inside and store it in a hallway. So right now there is no request for a bike rack by the applicant. So I guess that addresses the issue of where would the bike rack go. The applicant is not proposing a bike rack at this time, but would be open to whatever the employees in the city think is appropriate.
Right, and I think that because there's only 4 employees, it's likely that, I mean, I think the bike rack is really supposed to be there for, you know, customers and other folks coming in from outside. So I think that's fine. So here we go on to section 8 of the comments regarding the site plan. And it does seem like there's been some back and forth here on a number of these items. So it seems that there was a number of items that were mislabeled ZBA special permit, and that's been corrected to reflect City Council special permit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The ground floor plan, new work depicts 3 means of entrance from the main Butler building to the area tenanted by Bold Coast Solutions. Are these entrances accessible in addition to the main entrance to the facility?
Zach, can you help out with that? Are there interior? What are the interior doors for?
Yep. So the original reference was to the early May submission. So the precise door indexes, the numbers have been updated a little bit. So what we did in the latest submission was add a kind of a kicker page at the end of the special permit application entitled Additional Site Plan Details. And one section therein is a list of every single ingress and egress in the facility, with a description of their use, security measures, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the key point here was that there is only one secure entrance to the facility from the exterior of the building. And the other exits are emergency exits, either to the exterior in the rear of the building or to communal space within the broader 28 Appleton footprint, but you will not be able to access our facility through those doors.
So those would essentially be fire exits, and they would be fully alarmed?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
One secure entrance from the exterior, and the others are just fire exits?
Yes, that are alarmed.
Okay. So then is the July 17th, 2020 plans that were submitted, are they considered final at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. So regarding the signs, it's just a reference to the ordinance, and that they have to comply with the city ordinances.
And similar to Jason's, they are, you know, it's just a minimal sign so that, you know, there's no public getting there. So there's no advertising intent. It's you know, they are compliant, and it's simply to let people know where the secure entrance is. Mm-hmm. So if the CCC is coming for an inspection, or the police chief is coming for an inspection, they'll know how to get to Bold Coast.
Okay, so just directional signs. And then is there also a plan here to grow and expand, or do you feel that the operation is going to be contained I mean, I hear you talking about 4 to 9 employees, but does that mean an expansion of the business or type of business that you're doing at the site?
Still manufacturing and still within the same footprint, just processing more materials and maybe extending hours of operation, but not beyond the hours that the council is granting.
Okay, and then if there are, so I think that the planning department wants us to just note that in the event there are any proposed changes to the plans that are submitted on the July 17th submission, prior to the implementation of those new plans, the applicant will be required to come back to the City Council for review and approval, and you'll need to file an amendment for any changes to the plans that were submitted.
Of course, yes. If the footprint changes, then yes, we'd be back.
Okay, any questions from committee members?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I mean, again, when they were talking about bikes, I didn't think, well, I mean, I would encourage people to use bikes. I think we need to be intelligent in terms of when we mandate bikes, and in this case, if there are employees that want to and they would work to, I would say you just bring it into your business, and we don't make it a mandate for the business to take that expense. But obviously, when you got customers coming in and you want to deal with that, that's another matter. And I just wondering, Madam Chair, if you know that is that part of our ordinance? Is that something?
I think it's related to the I forget what it's called exactly, but it's the bike and pedestrian. We have a plan. The city has adopted a bike and pedestrian plan. I forget the actual formal name of it, but there is something in the city that we adopted in terms of promoting biking and pedestrian access, and so it just becomes part of, it's the complete streets, that's what it is. We've adopted a complete streets ordinance, which is a layer that becomes, just like the zoning ordinances and the sign ordinances and all these different ordinances kind of impact the project. It's the complete streets ordinance impacts these new projects in the same way. Okay, so we're going to use the traditional 6 conditions, as well as the condition that some formal documentation be provided to locate and verify the condition of the existing sanitary sewer service and confirm that it is separate from the roof or storm drains prior to the application of the building permit. So just like what we did with Milltown previously. Yeah. So that would be the 7th condition, and the other 6 conditions, I'll just read into the record, that the owner of the building always pay commercial property tax to the extent allowed by federal, state, and local laws for the duration of the special permit, that the business retain a minimum of 30% Holyoke residents for non-security jobs, hiring preferences be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police or are a retired member of a police department who now lives in the city of Holyoke. There shall be no marijuana consumption allowed on site. There shall be no deliveries of retail or medical marijuana from the site to individual homes, residences, or people, and that the hours of operation be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Are there any questions about any of those conditions?
No, those are all acceptable. Thank you, Councilor Lisi.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead, Councilor Murphy.
And Zachary, I'll ask you because you're probably the one that's going to know. Jack's not going to know this. Nothing personal, Jack.
Nothing taken.
I know those emergency exits. So do those exits go into the main building itself, or do they go out?
So there's one that goes out the rear of the building, okay. And there's another one, just another exit that goes into the body of the Butler building, which is a approximately 18,000 square foot portion of 28 Appleton, of which we'll be occupying about 2,000, 3,000 square feet as part of our broader 10,000, 9,000, 10,000 square foot footprint. So that one will go into the body of the building, but the other one will go out to the exterior.
And just I just want to make sure that no one from your facility would be going through there. If they were trying to go to connect to other parts of the building, I'm assuming they would go out and go into a main entrance into the Butler part of the building.
Yes, no, people will not be using this except in the case of an emergency. So it'll be equipped in that way and signed in that way.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, all of those emergency exits will have alarms and cameras.
Okay.
And one goes out the back. Actually, Councilor Murphy, I do know a little bit about it. There's a railroad spur actually behind 28 Appleton, and so one of these exits goes out the back to the railroad spur.
Okay.
And the other, as Zach said, the other one goes into, if these were considered condos, then where the second one goes, the interior emergency exit would go into a quote unquote common area.
Yeah.
Of the building. So it doesn't go directly into another tenant is C&D Industries down there, so it wouldn't go into C&D. The tenant upstairs is GTI. It would not go into GTI space, and vice versa. Nobody else would have access into Bold Coast space as well.
Would that be part of what the police are looking at too, to make sure you're not going from one to the other?
They are. They
Okay.
are. Absolutely. They asked, Captain Moriarty asked that very question, Councilor Murphy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the special permit with all the conditions that you stated, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the special permit with the 7 named conditions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Madam Chair, could I just take 2 minutes and I'll be right back? I know you don't
That's
have.
fine. Let's formally just recess for 5 minutes. I want to get a drink of water myself, but I think it'll just be cleaner that way. So on the motion to recess for 5 minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Help me out, Councilor Murphy. We actually formally motioned to adjourn. Do you have to make a motion to come back to?
We made a motion to recess.
That's right. Sorry, we made a motion to recess. So do we need another motion
To reconvene.
reconvene? Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded to reconvene. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, so before us now we have item number 5 in our agenda, which is a special permit application of Victoria Frost LLC to establish a legal cannabis product cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensary facility, an MME and an RME at 679-689 Main Street and 0 Beaulieu Street. Is there a motion to take up item number 5 off the table?
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, so we have, I know Attorney Ferreter is representing Victoria Frost, and it seems that there's a couple of other folks on the call. Does somebody want to walk us through the plan and concept behind Victoria Frost?
Sure. So thank you again, Councilor Lisi, and we'd very much like to thank the Captain Moriarty and Curtis for all the time they've put into this application, and Bob as well. Everybody's been very helpful. So this is at the corner of Main and Berkshire. There's an existing gas station convenience store there. There was an auto parts store that's been torn down, and there was an additional parcel that was picked up. That's the Beaulieu Street address, sort of parallel to Main Street. If you go up Berkshire, you'd take a right and you'd be on Beaulieu. It's a dead end at that point. It runs into 391.
Mm-hmm.
But so there's a good amount of space, and Abe Eunice has been the owner of that gas station for several years. Has a couple of other gas stations in Holyoke, and he would like to make a significant investment. If you've gone through the application, it's a very nice looking building. He'd be updating the gas station, updating the convenience store, adding a fairly small grow facility, about 7,000 square feet, and about a 2,500 square foot. So I'm sorry, the 7,000 square foot includes both the cultivation and the manufacturing, and about 2,500 square foot of a dispensary on the Berkshire Street side of the building, although everything is going to be looking, all the entrances and the nice looking facade will be facing Main Street. So it'll be a very nice addition to that area and to that corner, and a significant financial investment that Abe would like to make. And so the convenience store would be, if you're on Main Street looking towards Beaulieu, the convenience store would be on the right-hand side, dispensary would be on the left. There'd be no doors, even emergency doors, no doors between the convenience store and any of the marijuana uses. And there would be one emergency door between the dispensary and the cultivation facility. But the whole intent is to have this project be vertically integrated. So he would grow on site and employ neighborhood folks on the cultivation side, and employ as many as he could as well on the dispensary side. So it's a nice project. You know, some of the traffic issues that Bob raised, we think would be offset by people probably walking to work. There is on the plan, you'll see there is a bike rack that the applicant is proposing.
Do you have somebody with you that can do screen share while you're doing the narrative?
Sure. Jim, can you put up a site plan for us, please?
I'll just need the approvals to do so.
Oh, okay. He needs credentials.
Let's see if I can,
Credentials.
do that. Or Ryan, you might have to. Ryan, if you're there, can you give host capacity to Jim Bernardino so that he can do screen shares with us?
And Jim, if you could show maybe a you know, the nice looking facade of the building, and then we can go from there to the site plan itself and walk the counselors through the site plan.
Ryan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the credentials.
It doesn't let you do it.
It's not letting me do it for some reason.
Oh.
Let's see. Allow. Well, you know what? I'm letting everybody do screen share. Do you have the ability now, Jim?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Modern technology.
Very good.
All right. So I'm going to use, this is my cursor that you can see. So this reddish brick in the background, that's not our project. That's the mill building behind us. I believe Sullivan Paper might have that.
Okay.
At this point. So here's the convenience store over here. So the gas station, this area here would be the grow and manufacturing, and some behind here as well. This is, as you can see, the dispensary right there. So very nice looking, you know, brick details in between, you know, nice windows, although you won't be able to see through them. They'll look like windows. Thank you, Jim. So, yep. So, convenience store. And so we should point out before we go to the site plan, the updated site plan, this curb cut here, Bob had recommended that it be taken out. And as a result of Bob's comment, we have taken that curb cut out. So there'll be one curb cut further to the right on this picture off of Main Street. And there'll be one curb cut over in this area onto Berkshire. So yeah, so one curb cut over on the right-hand side over here for the gas station, and then folks will come in get some gas, grab a gallon of milk. People will come to the dispensary. You're going to see there's going to be a lot of parking, and they'll come into the dispensary over in this area here. So, Jim, could we move to the site plan now, please? Okay, so this is the area where the old curb cut was. That's an existing curb cut. At Bob's recommendation, that's being taken out. So we're going to have people coming, Main Street can come in this way. There'll also be a sign here directing people to the dispensary down Berkshire to go in this entrance over here. We have plenty of parking here, two rows of parking here, a row of parking here, a row of parking along the dispensary, parking spaces along the convenience store. These are the gas pumps right here, and a couple of employee parking spaces over here, because this is where the Sally Port will be. So we want, if there's going to be a delivery, we want to be able to tell the employees that they can't park there. So we would have signs that say employee parking, only to gain access to the.
Apologize on that one.
Yeah. All right. So okay. So this is the better site plan here. Yeah. So 4 employees. Wow, Jim, you're talented with this. So yep. So this is a site plan. How many parking spaces, Jim, in total?
47.
47. So that's a lot. Off-site, off-street parking for a dispensary. And so here you see this corner, the convenience store. This L shape is cultivation plus manufacturing, and then this would be over here would be the dispensary where the X is. So I think we've given a decent overview. If we would be happy to answer any and all questions that.
Oh, so the convenience store is somewhat embedded within, but not connected to the grow facility.
Same building, but separate entrances, no crossover, no internal doorways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to actually be a separate LLC. So Abe has one LLC that owns all the real estate, and then he has a separate LLC that's applied to the CCC for the cannabis uses. So yeah, here's a delivery door for the convenience store, and here's the main entrance over here. And so this would also be a emergency exit. So deliveries and emergency, and then you have deliveries in back here. So you have this bold line is a wall, fire security wall, and you see there's no doors out of the convenience store into any of the cannabis areas. And these are.
So I'm gonna ask some questions before we actually get into the comments. It's not typically what I do, but since we have the visuals, it's probably just easier. And then I'll ask other counselors if they want to ask some questions before we get into the comments as well. So usually the Sally Port is added on as a location for the manufacturing facility to accept deliveries and have, the traffic coming in and out of the building is secure. And it seems that right now the Sally Port is going to be shared for deliveries to the convenience store as well as to the grow facility, or to and from the grow facility. So what is that? How does that work out? And has the the police are the ones that have really been, I think, pushing for the Sally Ports in a way. So can you speak to the way that works with the security plan and what they think of it?
Yeah, so we went over that with Captain Moriarty, and we're just going to schedule deliveries separately. So if someone is coming in for a delivery to the convenience store, this door into the cultivation facility will be locked. And so this door and this door will never be open at the same time. So you're either going to have somebody coming in, and quite honestly, most of the deliveries for a convenience store are going to come right in the front door. And if it turns out that that Captain Moriarty or the chief have an issue with deliveries back here, we'll just cease doing it and completely use this as an emergency fire exit. This is also going to be cameraed and alarmed. So if it is an issue, then it just simply won't be used for deliveries. It'll just be used as a fire exit. There's certainly the capability of having deliveries come in the front door, and in fact, in practice, most deliveries probably will come in, because nobody will want to deal with unlocking the Sally port, going in, making sure everything. So most deliveries will come right in the front door.
Okay, and then secondly, I believe, I mean, I'm getting older, but I think that it says refuse in the back of the Sally port. Is that correct?
Yes. So there will be, much like Jason had described, a rolling bin. There'll be a rolling bin back here for refuse. Yes.
And then again, the police didn't have any issues with the I guess, marijuana byproduct, cannabis byproduct being in the Sally port along with the convenience store access?
So by the time the cannabis product gets out here, it's mixed with sawdust or some other material, so that it's not a usable cannabis product at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is. Jack, I believe they are intended to lock those dumpsters as well, correct?
Yes. So the dumpsters are locked. Yes. So the rolling dumpsters are locked, but so regular trash goes in one, and the mixed cannabis product goes in another, which means that it's rendered inactive, much like GTI does at their cultivation facility.
Right. Okay. Everything's been extracted. That's the stuff that makes you money. So it's not going to be in the trash. Okay. Any other questions from committee members on just these basic plans and what you're looking at?
Yeah, if I can.
Sure. Councilor Murphy.
Yeah. So I think we talked about potentially having an additional gas pump. Is that still part of this?
Yes. I'll add to that. So right now, presently, there's 2 gas pumps. These 2 are existing gas pumps. And in this location right here, there's the existing kiosk building.
Yep.
That's going to happen is that kiosk building is going to be removed as part of the development, and we're going to be adding a 3rd fueling dispenser in that location.
Okay. And obviously the convenience store will be your place where we take care of paying for it if need be.
That's correct. They'll have all the monitoring systems, all the new data collections and things of that nature will be piped to the convenience store.
Yeah, much like Jim's Mobile on Northampton Street. If you have to pay cash, you'd go inside and pay, and they'd authorize a pump to flow.
Right. And then, I mean, I know some gas stations you have to go in one way to get gas, and you got to pump it that way. Are we going to be in that situation here? For example,
No.
if I came in, I have to go where I'm going to be ending up pumping gas and then going out that way?
No, there's appropriate circulation through the site that'll allow either directional flow for traffic.
Okay.
Obviously, with the pumps, you're going to need to have your fueling tank on the side of the dispenser. Generally,
Right.
Self-service pumps, you don't have the extra long hoses. So that's really the only restriction, is make sure you pull on the right side.
Okay. And that was one of my other. So the other part is the removal, and the engineer, if he's still listening, knows I have the utmost respect for him. But if we're removing that entrance or driveway closest to Berkshire Street off of Main Street, right now, people coming down Main Street going north that want to go into the gas station, that's the only way they go in. I mean, I know they could go up Berkshire and then come in, and I'm assuming that's what our alternative is going to be. Because if you're coming this way, you don't see my hand, but if I'm coming from the south and coming towards 391, if I take out that driveway closest to Berkshire Street, then if I stay on Main Street, I can't get to your operation without doing a UE at the light. And I don't think we want to be having people do UEs at the light.
Well, that's definitely a concern and a practical comment. We actually considered that with some signage for the dispensary itself by adding a Victoria Frost sign with a pointing arrow left right here. So, which is located here for vehicles traveling, as you mentioned, that will catch their eye knowing that they have to turn that left because of the divided median. We could potentially add that and put in fueling station as well, just to help, alleviate some of those concerns that may happen with the individuals that may not be familiar with the area.
So is the concern that we're going to hold up traffic on Main Street because they're going to try to go there? Is that the issue? Or, I mean, because you're still going to end up being, we're talking about being at the intersection and waiting to turn, or we're talking about going probably another 30 or 40 feet and waiting to turn.
Are you asking about Bob's concern?
Yes.
Yeah. So his concern is, and you hear it a lot, that you want to control traffic going into a site. So you don't want people coming out over here and going this way, and people coming out here and going that way. So you want to really only have one entrance off of Main Street, one off of Berkshire. And instead, so I would, I'm just talking out loud, but instead of saying Victoria Frost with a sign going this way, maybe we just have a sign that says entrance and have it. So for traffic coming this way, the sign says entrance this way. And actually, if people get to this point and they see a sign that says entrance this way, they can go this way as well. But I think neighbors, so if people are coming this way and they want to get in, they'll see a sign here that says entrance, so they'll go this way. And I think neighbors will, figure it out. If they overshoot it one time, they'll know next time that they have to, go up Berkshire in order to enter the site.
So that driveway up on Berkshire, how wide is that?
Can you pull it down, Jim?
That's going to be 30 feet.
So Berkshire, yeah. I can't read that.
It's 30 feet.
Okay, thank you.
And what was the driveway on Main Street? Is that 30 feet?
30 feet as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
15 per, 15 entry, 15 exit on both sites. And that seems to be the industry standard, is only one. People like to keep curb cuts because you never want to come back and ask for another one.
Yeah.
It seems to be the industry standard to only have one off of each street.
Okay, so there's going to be only one entrance off of Main Street. Right now there are three?
Two. There's one over here that Bob asked to have eliminated.
Right.
And there's this one that's staying. So right now there are two.
Okay.
There's only going to be one based on Bob's recommendation.
All right. Yeah, I hear you, but I still got a little concern on that, but only because I can just see people. And the other concern would be if in fact the other operations that are looking to be on Beaulieu Street, if everybody became popular, Berkshire Street and Beaulieu Street are going to become pretty locked. But that's just, I know Bob mentioned that as well, but okay, I just wanted to get a better understanding of why we're removing that. And, to me, it's worth one less entrance, and I understand the safety idea. I'll have to go with it.
Yeah, and I think, the reference to other dispensaries down Beaulieu, so you only have a finite number of customers. And so if the average is, 50 per hour during peak, in this neighborhood, then it's still going to be 50 per peak in this neighborhood. So some are going to go here and some are going to go there. So if you assume, 1/3 go here and 2/3 go to the other, it's still the same number of cars. I don't think you're going to draw more people into this area because you have more dispensaries. I think it's the same number of customers. They just have, instead of having just a mobile station, they now have the choice of, mobile here, Shell here, and Exxon over there. But it's still the same number of people getting gas, and it's still the same number of people buying cannabis.
I hear you, and I agree with you most of the time, but I will disagree with you in terms of the gas. I think what you're going to find now is that gas station is going to become much more popular. And that's why I asked for the third pump, because I think you're going to find you're going to have a lot more customers there with the development that we talked about. And I think it's a nice looking development. And as you know, I was very pleased with what I heard you talk about. I just think you're going to end up with more people there. And I think this is a great thing, because that gas station has had a hard time surviving on and off. It's been closed over the last 5-10 years. And so I think it'll be a stable place right now with this investment. So I'm happy with that. But I do think you're going to get more business there, as well as the business for the convenience store and marijuana operations. So, with the two entrances, if Bob indicates that's what we should do, he's much smarter than I. So thank you.
I think at the end of the day, we want to keep the traffic off of Main Street where it could get congested, and you want to pull them off of the Main Street, either on the Main Street side, from coming from the, what would that be, the north, or pulling them all the way down onto Berkshire Street. But Bob has his hand raised, so he may want to speak to this. Okay. Bob, are you there? Do you want to comment on this?
Yes, I am, certainly. The desire to get rid of that third curb cut is really driven by what is good traffic practice, which is to get curb cuts as far away from intersections as possible. The whole concept is access control, and when you bring curb cuts close to intersections, you create more conflict, more safety issues, more congestion. So that was really what drove my recommendation that curb cut closest to the intersection, less than 50 feet away from the intersection, be removed such that vehicles get brought into the project further away from the intersection.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilor Murphy, if you want to entertain some questions with our engineer here.
No, I respect his opinion. I had that when I kept looking at it. But I'm glad we're looking at developing this area, which has already been there, by the way. But obviously, we don't have the same traffic. So, as it goes along, and obviously I trust Bob's judgment in terms of traffic safety, much more than my judgment. And, I just had that concern that I know people go there and they take that left as they're going and they get gas and then they come back out. So, and if I'm not mistaken, they usually come out the other way. So I guess they would be able to go the other way. I'm fine. I just wanted to get that understood.
Okay. I'm just gonna go, Bob, since you're on the phone, we're about at that point where we want to start talking about the comments that you made. And so maybe there's other things that you want to highlight as we go through some of these comments here.
Certainly. And probably the first thing I want to say is that the depth of review of my comments are really driven to a great extent by having more information to review than we typically see as part of a cannabis application. This project, I believe, is going to be the first cannabis project that will trigger the need for site plan review in addition to city council approval. Mm-hmm. And a requirement for site plan approval, there'll be a requirement not only for a traffic impact statement, which is the typical level of information that's submitted with a project. It'll be a higher bar, which is traffic impact study, which the applicant has developed at this point. So I have a lot more to look at, and therefore, because I had a lot more to look at, I had a lot more comments than you might typically have seen from me on other projects.
Great, thank you. Thanks for that.
If you'd like, I could step through my comments and maybe save you having to read through them, if that's okay.
That would be wonderful. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Certainly. So the first comment I had was just noting that this all came together fairly quickly. And as I understand from overhearing the applicant speaking internally, you've also quickly tried to respond to some of these comments. So we're trying to, I became aware of the traffic study on Friday, and I wanted to try to have some input to the council or to the committee by tonight's meeting. So I spent a good part of the day Sunday looking at things to try to give you some input. Let's see, one thing that's worth noting is, and this was mentioned, but we weren't entirely certain about this when we had a pre-application meeting in February. Mass DOT, or Mass Department of Public Works at the time, when I-391 was constructed, actually established as part of the state layout, the area under the state control, Main Street just before Berkshire Street, so it does not include the Berkshire Street intersection, to Canal Street, not including North Canal Street intersection, as part of the state layout. As a result of that, it's actually Mass DOT that has control over curb cuts for that section of Main Street. It's similar, as you might be aware, with Northampton Street at the Lynch School area, where Northampton Street, as a result of a Mass Department of Public Works project many years ago, took jurisdiction over a short section of Northampton Street. Same thing exists here. So I provided comments about Main Street, but at the end of the day, I'm not the final say. Mass DOT will require the applicant to apply for an access permit, and the applicant will have to respond to any concerns that Mass DOT might have at that time. My second comment was a relatively minor one. There was a reference to 141 that got repeated multiple times, suggested that be struck. The applicant, as you typically do, again, this is a higher level of information than we typically see at this phase, took a look at site distances at the project driveways, and the project driveways had no issues with site distance in terms of drivers being able to see somebody coming in or coming out of the project. They, however, did not look at the intersection of Main Street and Berkshire Street, and I'm recommending that they do that given the significant volume of traffic serving this project that's going to come through that intersection. It's important to make certain that is visible as well. Again, we start getting into some of the minutiae of traffic engineering. The next comment was relative to background traffic growth. The way that studies are typically done is traffic counts are done for existing conditions, or in this case, it was using some existing data from a couple of years ago. Applicants typically then superimpose some amount of growth on top of that traffic volume, and then they superimpose the impact from their project on that growth. Typically, we're looking at a 5-year timeline that they look forward. So there have to be assumptions made, and so the applicant reached out to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission based on their data, indicated that the background traffic growth in the region was about 0.5% per year. Pretty small growth. My comment here relates to the fact that I think there are a number of local impacts that may trigger a higher rate of traffic growth through this area. The Casella project, the Casella parking lot that's now opposite the applicant's property on Berkshire Street, and the other 2 cannabis facilities. So I suggested that they include that in their analysis. The next item, and again, this gets into somewhat of the minutiae of traffic studies, and I don't believe the applicant has their traffic engineer here today, so I think this will be a follow-up dialogue at some point. But what you typically do is you look at something called the level of service, and basically intersections get grades A through F. A is good, F isn't good. The applicant looked at the intersection of Main Street and Berkshire and rated that based on industry standards as a level of service F if you're a vehicle trying to take a left-hand turn out of Berkshire Street onto Main Street. As you can imagine, left-hand turns are typically the most difficult turning movement that you have coming out of an intersection. They did present the current condition as an F and the future condition with their project and without their project as an F. as you drill into the data behind this, it gives you some additional information, and that's what I called attention to here, is that the delays that they analyze, these aren't my numbers, they're numbers that come out of the applicant's report. The delays are high to start with. They get a bit higher with that background growth. They appear, based on the applicant's analysis, or the applicant's engineer's analysis, to get quite a bit higher with the added traffic from this project. And if that's truly the case, there may need, at least we all should understand what's happening at that intersection, and then probably have a dialogue of what the needs might be to make that intersection work better, perhaps. And then what happens, for instance, and it's a practical matter, is if there's an intersection that is particularly difficult to get out of, if a driver's leaving this project on Berkshire Street and they want to take a left-hand turn onto Main Street, but Berkshire Street is backed up for 500 feet or 1,000 feet, instead of going out Berkshire Street, they're going to take a right on Berkshire Street in Beaulieu. So I suggested that that be considered as well as the likelihood that the queuing length, which is a length of cars that back up at that intersection, could likely go beyond the driveway. And if it goes beyond the driveway, then you have an issue of cars being actually able to get out of the applicant's property itself. So again, typically this is reviewed maybe at a later phase of the project. It would definitely be reviewed as part of the planning board review, but I had the study, so these are things I commented on. Curb cuts we talked about. I actually think the applicant in the next item, item 3, I had called attention to the fact that on the plans that I had seen, there was going to be a reconstructed concrete sidewalk on Main Street. The applicant was proposing, as part of their project, to construct a concrete sidewalk at the rear of their building that was going to be on the applicant's property. But they were then planning to keep the connecting sidewalk between the two of those as asphalt, which is, they appropriately noted it is asphalt now. My recommendation was, if you're going to make the sidewalk in Main Street concrete, if you're going to make the sidewalk on the back side of the property concrete, it certainly would give us a much longer lasting sidewalk and look better and present the project better if that sidewalk is made concrete as well. And I believe the plans I see in front of me now reflect that. Project sign locations I just noted, because as you may know, if you pull out of Berkshire Street now, there is a conflict with an existing sign that I'm working on trying to get resolved, and I just wanted to make certain that there aren't any other sign conflicts that exist along that section of Main Street that are created as part of this project. Drainage and utility impacts. One of the things that we're supposed to look at this phase is basically, can the project move forward from a drainage and from a utility standpoint? I'm confident that it can. I don't need to see the design level detail at this point, but that will be presented, I would expect, at the planning board review, and that's when we'll dig into the detailed review of it. And then finally, the standard comment regarding the opening date plan, which is becoming, quite honestly, much less of an issue than we were all had expected it to be early on.
Thanks, Bob. I have a question for you. Are you participating, or were you participating in the Colvest public hearing with the planning board? Were you helping them at all with any of the like similar sort of comments that you made here?
I certainly did participate extensively during the life of the project. I have not been at the recent meetings, but I have provided written comments to the planning board throughout the process.
Because I think one of the things that has become a sticking point in moving that project forward is the planning board's interpretation of conditions that we placed on the special permit. So given that you provide a lot of recommendations here that aren't necessarily part of the permitting, the special permit application for the marijuana facility and so on, again, because you had the access to the studies and whatnot. Do you have any sort of suggestions on how to incorporate some of these issues as conditions that can be, you know, worked with more easily or nimbly when it does approach the planning board, or how we might work to make things clear and easy for the planning board to understand when they do site plan review?
It's a good question. As I said, this project is unique in that it is the only project that is to undergo by both the council and by the planning board. So council could look in a couple of different ways. It could rely on the planning board to do the detailed review of project impacts if it, you know, felt that that was the appropriate way to handle it. That said, you know, if the council had major traffic concerns, just like they did, for instance, for the I'm trying to think of the cannabis facility on Main Street that the young gentleman blanking out, I'm forgetting their names right now.
Brothers.
Yes. You know, there were certainly some detailed level traffic type of comments that were provided during the council review process. But part of that was the process stopped with the council. In this case, the process won't stop with the council. It will proceed on to the planning board if the applicant applies to the planning board. So the only place to address traffic issues on those other projects have been at this level. Here you have an opportunity to raise issues now or let the issues be raised further in the process.
Thanks for you know, that interpretation. I just want to make sure that when we hand it off, so to speak, to the planning board, that it's done in a way that's clear. Would they have, I mean, these are all part of the public record now, so they would absolutely have these comments to reference as they move forward, correct?
Absolutely. It would not surprise me that a dialogue continues with the applicant between now and the point at which they submit to the planning board, where maybe some of these comments, you know, I'm not always 100% right, so maybe some of these comments get adjusted as things go forward to the planning board. Maybe the applicant responds to some of these comments between now and then, but certainly if the project was submitted as it is today, I would submit the very same comments to the planning board.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then just going through these comments. I'm sorry, go ahead. Attorney Faraday, I see your hand up. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much. So I would, and thank you, Bob, for your detailed comments. They've been very helpful, and the applicant is absolutely going to continue the dialogue. We do have a representative from, we have a traffic engineer on this Zoom meeting right now, but I'm going to respectfully suggest that, you know, we are going through planning board site plan review. In my 34 years, when we've done Barnes and Noble and we've done everything else, the traffic issues have been worked out at the planning board. I'm not sure the city council wants to get into a debate about, you know, whether the traffic is going to be delayed by a half a second or a whole second. My reading, and you know, certainly Crystal can jump in, but my reading is that this is a special use permit. So the city council is deciding whether it's appropriate for a marijuana use at this site. And because we're going through site plan review, we're going to go through stormwater calculations. We're going to go through traffic in detail. And I have on my email, I have a response to some of Bob's issues that came in tonight at 6 o'clock, and I just didn't want to forward it right before the meeting. I didn't want to forward it to the ordinance committee, didn't want to forward it to Bob, but we will certainly continue this dialogue. So I would respectfully suggest that you simply make a condition on this application that it receive site plan approval from the planning board, which it has to anyway, and that all traffic issues be resolved by the planning board and the city engineer at the planning board level, which all other projects would do. And as you mentioned, the Coal Vest project is going through that high level of traffic study analysis at the planning board right now. So I would just suggest that. You don't have to do it, but obviously, but it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice way to expedite the process, to just condition it on site plan review and any sort of traffic mitigation that the engineer suggests at that level. I mean, I think from where I stand, the most important, there's two things that I think are important to highlight, but it's section 1D related to the impact of the other developments and the regional growth rate be included in the future traffic impact analysis. I think that's something that stands out to me as something that I think we should highlight in a way.
And I have that response in an email right now, but I like I said, I just didn't want to forward it at the last minute. So yeah, we're happy to address all of that.
And then the signal improvements. I mean, those are the two things that stand out to me that.
And with Barnes and Noble, we worked out all the traffic signals, the planning board. You know, I just, from a governance point of view, I just don't think the city council wants to get into traffic counts, whether signals are required. I think that's more of a technical.
No, it's not. That's not what I'm saying so much. As saying to, I think our role here is to signal to the planning board that we think these things are important, and we hope that they're mitigated in a way that works for the city. And you know, I don't think that anyone here has the expertise to be able to say, like, this is what we're going to require in terms of traffic signals or studies, but just to highlight, I think, for the planning board that these two items should get some extra attention. And I don't know, Councilor Murphy and Councilor Hernandez, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, I do think that creating a condition that says, you know, the permit can move forward, you know, conditioned on site plan review approval by the planning board, and that all sort of traffic issues are
remedied
to the engineer's satisfaction.
Yeah,
we're on the same page. Yes.
Yeah. And if I can, Councilor Lisi,
please.
If in fact, you know, I mean, obviously it would be nice if we had traffic concerns because that means the businesses are doing well. But and one of the things maybe you look at, because I think this could be maybe a way of alleviating traffic on coming down Berkshire on Main Street, is the concept that Bob Parent talked about, where maybe your customers that are looking to go towards West Springfield or Route 5 would be kind of directed towards Beaulieu Street, and then only the people that are going to be going back to 391 or going back north to Holyoke would be coming down Berkshire Street to take that left. So you would be able to reduce some of the traffic congestion there. I mean, obviously Beaulieu Street's going to have more traffic as we go along here, and that is an issue that Bob and I have been working on for a while, but that's a possibility. But I do think just the suggestion that we pass the permit, the special permit here with the condition, obviously we know it's going to happen, that site plan review is going to be there, and that, you know, they need to pass site plan review and agree to what happens, including the traffic and including whether or not we need to have additional traffic signage, additional street traffic lights. Obviously there's other concerns, but I having seen what they're trying to do, and I, as much as I appreciate all the things we try to do and making sure we do it right, and not cause a problem as you're trying to make sure we don't have, Councilor Lisi, and I appreciate that. I mean, I would recommend that we go ahead and move this along with the idea that they are going to have a site plan review, and it will include whether or not we need to have traffic light installation or some other kind of traffic mediation, and that they would be, you know, obviously part of the responsibility of getting that done.
Okay, Councilor Hernandez, you want to weigh in on that at all? Are you happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Okay. Okay, so then let's jump into the planning department comments. And Bob, thanks so much for walking us through the engineering comment. They've been really helpful, and I do hope that the planning board takes them under advisement when they see the comments in site plan review. Okay, so these are coming to us from, let's see, were you working with Curtis? Yes. And I did see you sent something over as an amendment, and it was pretty late in the day, Jack, but
do you want me to? So it was simply the plan that Jim just had up on the screen.
Okay.
That had the curb cut eliminated. That was the only change.
So then the plans that were submitted today, 7/28, are now the official plans.
Correct. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Official final plans. I forget how they talk about it. All right, so let's see. You're seeking an MME and an RMRE, and this is going to trigger site plan review. Name and address has been secured. The license has been applied for with the CCC. There's a binding option to lease and notarized landlord statement. Good. List of owners without signatures or notary stamp. Has that been changed?
It's been updated, yes. There was a later submission that includes that you all have. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Let's see. Letter from the police chief. So let's see. Letter from the Holyoke police chief has been provided by email on 7/23. We don't have a copy of it, but I'm assuming that because they're just saying it's been provided, that the security plan has been received and approved.
Yes, yes. Captain Moriarty apologized profusely. He thought he had sent it the same time that he sent the Bold Coast one. You all have electronic copies of the letter, and the city clerk has hard copies of the police chief's letter. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's see, traffic impact statement, development impact statement, locust plan, improvement plan, building plan details. So there's an issue here regarding the business name. I know that you have a copy of these comments, right?
Yes.
So the planning department writes, will the business name of the corporate enterprise Victoria Frost LLC also be Victoria Frost LLC? The front elevation provided by the applicant lists that it's prepared for Abe's Strip Center and includes sign renderings of dispensary and Abe's on the building frontage. The applicant has responded saying the plans have been changed, and the planning department says, noted, signage now reflects Victoria Frost. Please be advised that in the application and site plan narrative and revised proposed site plan documents, the company is referred to exclusively as Victoria Frost LLC, and the abbreviations rather than as Victoria Frost LLC doing business as Victoria Frost, or abbreviations thereof. So I think that's legal minutia at this point, right?
Yes, you know, the name of my law firm is Fairder and Fairder LLC, and we don't have the LLC on the sign. It's a waste of lettering, I think.
Right.
Not good advertising.
Okay, good. So then let's see. Will sales of cannabis product on the premise constitute a medical dispensary, MMD, or recreational sales, RMRE use? If the former, the applicant should clarify sales are for patient rather than adult members of the public. And the update mentions of dispensary throughout the plan and narrative document. The applicant responds that it's for recreational cultivation, recreational manufacturing, and recreational dispensary, as opposed to a medical use. So it says here that the development impact statement should be amended to reflect these permit categories. And why? Can you elaborate on why Curtis is having an issue with the MMD? Is it because of the dispensary language that's tripping him up?
So he just wanted us to include those specific letters instead of saying, you know, recreational dispensary. He wanted RMRD or whatever it is. Yeah. And we did that. So
okay.
We made it very clear what license or what uses under the city's ordinance we're applying for, and you know, it's all so recreational cultivation, recreational manufacturing, recreational dispensary, and we use the correct lettering in the updated application.
Just to reflect our ordinances more neatly. Okay, I got it.
Yes.
It's just a lot to identify where the outstanding questions are in the format that he's using here. It just talks about planning board approval is required for site plan. The application will be submitted shortly. Has it been submitted as of yet, or
no? So we were waiting for tonight's comments, if any, to and actually we just got in, as you mentioned, Councilor Lisi, we just got in earlier today the updated site plan that eliminated that curb cut based on Bob's comment. So we'll probably be filing tomorrow. We'll definitely be filing this week now that we have a final site plan. We wanted to make sure we had all the comments incorporated just to cut down on back and forth with planning. But Curtis has been very helpful, as has Bob. So we're going to keep
a lot of people helping you and giving you a lot of comments and feedback back, which is good for you guys and also good for the city that we're paying attention to these details here.
Absolutely, we appreciate it.
So it seems that comment 9 related to the traffic impact statement. You're requesting a waiver for incremental traffic studies on the ground.
No.
And is that just for this level of permitting or for the site plan as well?
So I'm sorry, there's been some confusion there. In the very first version of the application, earlier Bob had said this is the kind of the most detailed traffic study that's been presented to the city council for this type of project. So in the very first version, we asked for a waiver of traffic, a traffic study, and then we realized that we were going to have to do it for the planning board anyway. Okay. And so in the updated submission, the second submittal, we included that traffic study. So we're no longer asking for a waiver because you have it and Bob has commented on it. So we're not asking for that waiver. We in fact have submitted a full-blown traffic study, and we'll continue to work with Bob in planning to work out the details of that. So there is no request.
And that seems to be settled then. Let's see. So this is another sort of, so based on the results from table 3 in the traffic impact I'm assuming this is the study. It's section C of comment number 9. Jack, I don't know if you have the copies there.
I do.
But they're talking about it would mean that the LOS change from C to D represents surpassing an arbitrary threshold rather than a substantive degree of change between build and non-build scenarios. And that's the level of service. And so is that finalized now, that the level of service change is moving from the F to a C or a D, or is that something that still would be determined?
So we will work that out in the site plan review process, but it does in fact drop a level of service, but it's because it was right at the threshold. And so the delay, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think Jeff is still on from McMahon Associates, the traffic engineers, but my recollection is it was a half a second additional delay. And because we were right at the border, it did drop a level of service. But as Curtis said, it's not a meaningful amount of delay. It was essentially a half a second.
Sure, but in any case, we get an improvement from a level of F to a D or a C with the changes that you need to make.
Yes. Yes. So we are making traffic improvements. We're taking that curb cut out, and yeah. So yes, and we're taking into account all of the other dispensaries in the area, and so we think, and the bona fide traffic engineers think that traffic will be dispersed more about the city, the same way that we don't think that there's, I was at the opening for Canna Provisions, the same way that we don't think that there's going to be an opening day issue anymore. I think the more we get dispensaries throughout the city, that there'll be, less traffic to any one particular dispensary. So short answer, Councilor Lisi, is yes, I agree with you.
And then, Jeff, I saw you going to comment, but I don't know if you want to add or if you're satisfied with the response that Attorney Farrader gave.
No, absolutely. And I was just gonna confirm his assertion that it was a half a second increase that again dropped from one side of the threshold to the other, from a C to a D, which again, D being, acceptable in a semi-urban setting. And again, that was only at the intersection of South Street and Water Street. That wasn't, study area wide. Again, we did look at, 4 study intersections within the immediate vicinity, and that doesn't include the existing site driveway at Berkshire Street or the existing curb cuts, on Main Street as well. So we did have a pretty robust study area when we completed the study. And again, I was on the call for Bob going through his comments. And again, as Attorney Farrier mentioned, we did get a chance to respond to some of those comments, just before this meeting. So I assume those will be, as Attorney Farrier mentioned, those will be distributed, at the appropriate time, and we can have conversations with Bob or other folks at the city or the planning board level to, get to a point where we're comfortable, tackling some of the, traffic issues that have been risen in the comment letter and that we did have the chance to respond to.
Thank you. I see, just really briefly, there's just a note here that the peak hours for retail marijuana dispensary is expected to be between 5:45 and 6:45 p.m., which is going to be an hour different from the peak hours for the convenience market and gas pumps. And it would be an hour later than the peak time for those. And so you feel like there's not going to be much overlap in terms of the high traffic counts for both. Let's see. This is a question about the cannabis waste and the on-site storage, which I think was answered earlier. We were talking about the Sally Port and the access between the convenience store and then the grow site with the Sally Port, so that seems fine. Also, some questions about the pedestrian scale entries from the Sally Port. I think you also you answered the questions there about how deliveries to the dispensary would be managed. They would be scheduled differently, although I do feel that can't always rely on scheduled deliveries. So I do think you guys are going to need to pay attention to the traffic in and out of the Sally Port for those deliveries. So it says, this may have been answered, but I'm not 100% sure, and it's coming out printed very light here. But we talked about the 3 means of entrance egress from the proposed marijuana manufacturing establishment, and 1 means of entrance egress for the proposed dispensary. Is this accurate? I think we saw on the updated plans that Jim showed earlier that is accurate, correct?
Yes.
There's 2 from the Sally Port. Sorry, 1 from the Sally Port, 1 from the out to the site, and then 1 behind on Beaulieu Street.
That's correct. Yes. Thank you.
And then given the lack of the floor plan, can employees and visitors to the proposed dispensary exit via the rear egress that appears as part of the manufacturing use?
No, that's emergency only and no access from the dispensary.
Okay, so there will be no access to and from marijuana and non-marijuana uses?
Not,
as well as...
not a public, so it's integrated. So the cannabis product can go through a secure entryway. So deliveries of product are going to be from the manufacturing side over to the dispensary side, but that's all going to be cameraed and locked and no public access, employee only. Employee only.
Is there a counter in the dispensary side and like a back area where that would be like the inventory area?
Employees only, yeah. So there'd be a vault back there. There'd be storage. There'd be a break room, employee bathrooms, and then the entrance over to the manufacturing facility. So it wouldn't even be visible from the public area where the counters are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then let's see, updated all the parking spaces in front of the Sally Port, and they're going to be the employee parking spaces. And it looks like everything else that was raised as an issue regarding signs has been noted by the applicant and addressed to the planning department satisfaction. So I think we're all set here. It doesn't seem that there's anything outstanding. I think the only thing outstanding is perhaps the 6 normal conditions that we put on every application, special permit, and then perhaps also adding those 1 or 2 conditions, however you want to see it, that you meet the site plan review and all traffic issues are mitigated to the engineer's satisfaction. Are there other questions or issues that members of the committee want to raise?
Yeah, just one question, and I'm just, this is more educational than anything, because when you brought up the gas volume being from 445 to 545 and the marijuana purchasing volume from 545 to 645, where does that come from? Where does that statistic or analysis come from? It just seems to me like I would expect that, and I'm assuming that's coming off of 391 in both cases.
So Jeff, if you can, kind of briefly answer that, but Councilor Murphy, my understanding is those times of day, they come from national publications, much like the traffic counts come from national engineering publication. It's not something that McMahon Associates made up. It's certainly not something that Jack Ferreter made up. It's something that's readily available to the industry.
Okay, so they're basically saying people get gas on their way home from work, I guess.
People get
Yeah,
gas.
it's this. I'll just follow up on that. It's the same metric that we use to establish the amount of trips, per independent variable, per gas pumps, per 1,000 square feet. The ITE trip generation manual has a supplement that includes, peak hours for each use and looking at the marijuana and the gas station convenience store uses. So those were the peak hours that are determined based. When they collect all their data, they obviously look at what the highest peak hour of those uses are, and that's summarizing what that is. And there's a small overlap, and again, to emphasize that during those times you do see a lot of the pass-by trips, so it's not necessarily new trips to the site. It's folks, like you mentioned, coming home from work.
Okay.
391 heading south on Main Street that turn right into the gas station convenience store and turn right out of the site. So it's not essentially a new trip. It's a trip that's already existing on the roadway that happens to turn in and out of the site.
Okay.
So, particularly with the gas station uses, we do see a very large percentage of those type of trips. So just wanted to emphasize that.
Okay. No, I looked at it and I just thought it looked too convenient from 1 hour to the next.
Right. And there might be a small difference between the two. Again, we're talking PM peak hour, so again, it is a lot of folks returning home from work. So whether it's 1 hour or the other, it's essentially the same time period. It's just a matter of which hour we count when we do the analysis.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so then it seems that a motion to approve the special permit with the 7 conditions is in order.
Including the site
Make a
plan.
motion. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
No, you're good. You're good. Including a site plan review, right?
Yeah, do you want to do site plan review and the traffic issues as 2 separate issues, 2 separate conditions, or 1 condition?
I would make it 1 condition, but include the traffic study and remediation if need be as part of the site plan.
Mm-hmm.
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that would be the first condition, that a site plan review is completed and that all traffic issues and improvements are mitigated to the engineer's satisfaction. All in favor to that first condition?
Aye.
And then the 6 normal conditions, which I think Ryan very graciously put on the side here for us.
And the applicant would waive your reading of those. We've heard them a couple times tonight, and if you are so inclined, we'd be happy to waive your reading, and we accept those.
Okay, you understand all 6 of them then?
We do.
Okay, so then on the motion to approve the special permit with the 7 mentioned conditions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. 3-0. This will be before the city council next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate you taking all this time and going so late into your evening for us. We appreciate it.
And thank you for your investment in some nice new buildings down in that lot.
Yeah, good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We'll have to thank Abe. I think Abe is on here.
I was looking right at him. I was looking at you, Jack. I was looking at Abe.
Thanks very much. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back to item number 6 in the agenda then. This is a special permit application by Exotica Farms. And
Make sure we take it off the table.
Motion has been made and seconded to take it up off of the table for discussion. All in favor? Aye. So moved. I do see that we do have Terry Reynolds and Karen Talton. I think Denise might still be on the call here. Terry, we did receive, or Karen, we did receive a request to continue. And as I mentioned earlier, while we do have a review from the engineer, the city's engineer, we do not have a review from the planning department. So it makes it very difficult for us to be able to review the application at this point in time as the lay committee here. Everybody seems to be on mute except for Karen at this point in time. I'm unmuting Terry and Denise, you seem like you're unmuted at the moment also.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have no video, but I can hear you.
That's okay. We can hear you too.
One day I'll figure this out.
When you do, let me know.
I have to ask my 11-year-old granddaughter when I go back to see her. So my question about this, I understand there's been a lot of confusion. Really, there's been a lot of confusion on my end. There's just been quite a bit of confusion since we started this entire project, but we did submit the package on the 12th of June. And my expectation was that we would get comments back. And the only reason that it would have been, or we had, originally had thought of it being continued, was we were under the impression, that we were something about we were going to be putting new plans in. And I know that the engineering department reviewed it. I did speak to Marcos called me actually tonight to talk to me about this, and he was very kind about it and said that I should go ahead and talk to you guys because there's several reasons why this permit is so important to us, and I don't know if there's any way at all that we can discuss it and discuss what you have and maybe possibly get this through any way, shape, or form, knowing that the planning department still has to make comments and that we would have to have, we would have to make whatever provisions or conditions, and meet those conditions. I know it's a tough spot. I do understand that, but this is all very new to me. So obviously I appreciate all of your patience with me and everything.
Councilor Murphy, go ahead.
Yeah, just in relation to what Karen's requesting, if we can review based on the city engineer's comments and not take a vote tonight, because obviously we don't have the information from the planning board, but if we got the information from the planning board within the next few days, it might be possible for us to take it out of committee at our meeting on Tuesday. I don't know if that would be agreeable to you, Madam Chair, but that's the only way I think we could have a chance of doing this. We can't go ahead and approve this, I don't think, tonight, knowing that we don't have other information that should be coming. And it may not be that, significant, but we don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's fine. We could go as far as we could go. We definitely can't pass it tonight, and what we could do is table it and then take it out of committee on the 4th as a possibility, but just reviewing the engineer's comments here, I have a hard time feeling that that's even possible because of the way that these comments are. But we're on item number 6 and it's up for discussion. I can go right into the engineer's comments. Let's see, it looks like Bob might still be available to some extent, but so the DPW has reviewed the information received on June 12th, 2020 to support the special permit application of an MME manufacturing establishment at 5 Appleton Street for Exotica Farms LLC. And number 1, the applicant indicates that approximately 55 employees will be on site during regular hours of operation, but only 30 spaces are being proposed. So as presented, the proposed parking facilities are not adequate to serve the need of the project, including employees and visitors. And now I understand that this might represent a total of 55 employees and that they may not all be working at the same time.
Correct.
So can you talk about how many people you would expect with each shift?
Because things go in phases, there would be times where there might be like 26 people. There might be times where there's 30 people. And in the next few years, we're a couple of years away from being fully, operational at all. And at that point, if there were more employees, which there will be, I'm sure, because we'll have trimmers and other people coming in like temporarily, we'll obviously be revising things as needed. Right now, 30 spaces is more than enough. It's more than adequate for the amount of people who will be in the building.
Okay, so that needs to include employee parking and then visitors.
Correct.
So you think that at this point in time, 30 parking spaces is enough for how many employees and how many visitors would you anticipate then?
With visitors, it's basically visitors to me consist of like vendors or, different, there's really not a lot of visitors that come to most cannabis companies that, I've had or that we have. So it's vendors and things of that nature. So it's by appointment. So usually, at any given time, it might be one or two, and it's usually not daily.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. All right, so then item number 2 is it's difficult to evaluate the traffic impact statement submitted with the application since the narrative provides very little descriptive information about proposed manufacturing operation and how the existing building will be laid out and utilized. More information should be provided to describe how the values in the traffic impact statement were developed so that this information can be compared to what is presented on the project plans and described in the project narrative. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Terry, are you there?
Yeah.
Can you take this one?
Sure. What was presented in the narrative was just basically trip generation. This site is in a very underutilized area of town, and so the trip generation looked at the previous use, which would have been years ago, of manufacturing compared to the use that is proposed now. Right now, only the upper floors are proposed to be used, whereas before there was an additional 70,000 square feet of a basement floor that is part of the building. So the general use in that is decreased from what was previously there. The traffic down there there really is minimal traffic in the area. In the narrative, it does describe how basically employee parking's on one side of the building with vendors coming in on that side, on the Appleton Street side, and deliveries coming in off of Water Street on the east side of the building. So that's completely separated. And basically in terms of traffic impacts and levels of service, we're talking minimal numbers that aren't going to affect adjacent intersections and so on in the function of the area.
And so have you updated the narrative of the traffic impact statement to reflect those comments, Terry?
Well, the current narrative does have a trip generation analysis in there. Mm-hmm. That looks at that based on IT numbers. And it has a brief statement in regard to the function of where employees are in deliveries. It's not an extensive traffic study like you were discussing in the previous hearing.
Right. I understand. It's just the statement, the traffic impact statement at this point in time, but still. So are you using? I forget the name of the book, but there's that large book that kind of talks about
yes,
where.
IT manual. It's the IT manual. Yeah.
Okay, and then 3 is, since this project does not significantly modify existing impervious areas or create new impervious areas, you're currently exempt from the stormwater regulations. The application for a permit may be required in the future if existing impervious areas in excess of 2,500 square feet are disturbed, repaved, or otherwise expanded. So that's just a note for you all. Number 4, no information is shown on the plan relative to the existing sanitary sewer service. So the applicant should be required to locate and verify the condition of the existing service and confirm that it is separate from any roof or storm drains. And then finally, the facility is not retail, so no opening day plan is required.
Yeah. So in terms of number 4, the sewer service is shown on the plan. It has not been cambered or anything like that. This building is going to get a full renovation. So any combined sewer at that time can be separated if there is such a thing. I don't know the mechanical connections within the building, but we have a full architectural build out being developed for this building for the entire grow and administrative portions of this building. So all of that is easily, if there are any cross connections, those can easily be separated.
Okay, and I don't know for how long you've been listening in on the meeting, but for all the other applications that came before us that had this issue, we did ask that a condition be made that documentation be provided to demonstrate that those sanitary sewer services are where they're located and that they are separate.
Yeah, I don't see that as any problem at all.
So
the building is part of the architectural design that is going to be subjected to a complete review of all the mechanicals and everything within the building to see what is functional and what's not. All the structural pieces are all going to be being evaluated for code and so on. So I see no issue in terms of that sort of stuff being picked up and separated as needed.
All right, and then it seems like number 1 has been addressed by the notion that all 55 employees will not be working in the same shift. So that creates the opportunity for 30 parking spaces to be adequate for the project. But number 2 still seems outstanding to some extent. I think whatever you're submitting in the impact statement needs to have a little bit more of a detailed narrative.
Sure.
And I would definitely you'll have the next week, but I would reach out to the engineer to see what sort of details you would like to see included in there.
That's not a problem. We can take care of that.
And then we don't have the planning board review, and so we're going to have to wait. We can try for next week. I mean, what I think we need to do then, committee members, is continue this meeting for 6:30 on the 4th and start early with a review, which is going to make a very long night for us, because that meeting on the 4th is going to at minimum be a 4 or 5 hour meeting to begin with.
Oh God. Well, first let me say that you have no idea how I really appreciate that. I know that you guys are all working very hard, and I know with COVID and Zooms and all of the things that it's very difficult right now. This project, just so all of you know that's on the meeting, this project is very, very important to us for many, many reasons. We already have several people from Holyoke lined up for jobs. Families I met at Essex Streets when the buildings were falling down. We've got people ready to work. We've been dealing, talking with the police department and already, trying to get involved with as much community, outreach as we can possibly do. And, we came here in September and closed in November, and the world shut down in March, so it's been very difficult. And the reason why I'm pushing so hard now for this is, and I always say this, if you know better, you do better. And now I know better, but we have companies in California And we don't have investors, we're not raising money, but we do have to have majority with our partners in order to fund this project, because it's going to be I want to renovate this building back to its really natural beauty. And we know that this is going to be, this is going to be a very expensive endeavor. And until our partners can see that the city says, yes, you can use this for cannabis, that's what's holding up, moving forward. And that's why I'm pushing so hard. And if I can get them to review, because one of the things I was told by the planning department tonight was that, just in kind of looking at it really quick, there's really not a lot of change. There's really not a lot of change. So if they can get it reviewed and get it to you guys, let's say by Friday, would that be sufficient to carry this to the 4th and maybe get it through on the 4th?
I think as long as it gets to us by the 3rd, it's fine.
Really? Okay.
Because we rely, we're not, we're not trained as engineers or architects, so we really rely on the technical expertise of the planners and those in the planning department that are doing the review to see how well the plans submitted comport with the guidelines that we've laid forth in the ordinance. So it's really about them saying, and as you heard tonight, like where there are outstanding issues, we simply condition them. But
yes,
we want to have some level of confidence that the plans submitted are, worthwhile to move forward, as opposed to shooting in the dark, which is somewhat how I feel at this point in time without,
without the planning. If you have our application in front of you, is that correct?
I don't have it in front of me. I have an electronic copy somewhere that I could dig up.
Oh, well, the reason I asked is because of several other things I heard you asking. I listened in on the whole meeting. So just to get an idea of how things work. And so, everything that you were asking them, or the things we were going through, we've already had the security plan with the, Matt already walked through, and we had the approval on that. So, I was just thinking about all of the things that you were asking them, and they were, they're all there. Our agreement is signed, all of the good standing, everything else is intact. And I'm thinking, just to save time for you guys on the 4th, since it is going to be a long meeting, if any of you on this committee have a chance to go to see that those things are intact, or if something is missing, then it might shave a little bit of time off on your meeting on the 4th, since it is going to be so long.
Yeah, I actually just checked my email, and I don't even have a copy, because usually the copies of the applications come through with the review. So I don't even have, anything that you've submitted at this point. It's all at the planning department level.
Okay.
Could I ask a few questions?
Sure, go ahead, Terry.
Please.
So, thank you, Karen, and all of you. So are you looking to buy this building, or have you?
We purchased the building. We closed on February 28th.
Okay.
And as I said, then the world shut down about 2 weeks later.
Yep.
We live in California and here now. We bought a house in Holyoke, actually off of Northampton.
Okay.
So we're officially like here. I go back and forth often, but Massachusetts, I was born in Malden and left it when I was 6. And so coming back has really been kind of sweet. But yes, we've already purchased the building.
In terms of modernization, renovation, what kind of dollars are you talking about in terms of that?
What kind of what?
What kind of money are you talking in terms of renovation?
Did you say dollars?
Yes.
This could be, Terry, I'm going to answer this, then you please correct me. I can tell you that so far, just from the purchase of the building to where we are right now, we have spent probably close to $500,000. That includes, by the way, no, it doesn't even include the house, but if we included the house, we're probably about $600,000 already in. And we expect this is going to be anywhere from $10 to $15 million.
Okay.
Because, and one of the reasons why, we know that a build out can be a lot less, but this building is very old and needs a lot of love. And to really restore it, back to, you know, we're leaving, you know, the paper mill sign up that says the norm in 1921. We want to really just restore this building, the outside. And so we know we're in for quite a bit.
Okay. Okay. And it's cultivation and manufacturing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. No, I'm good. I've been down that road, and it'd be nice to have something there. So.
Oh, thank you.
Councilor Hernandez, are you all set, or do you want to make any comments or requests?
I'm all set.
Okay. All right, so then let's leave this tabled and continue this public hearing to August 4th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you so much. I really honestly appreciate all of you. It's late and I can't tell you right now, it's the first time I've smiled all day. So thank you all so much. I really look forward to working with the city and getting this going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I'll need a second for that motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to continue this public hearing until the 4th of August at 6:30 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Make
Okay, so then we have taken care of our business here. We can accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Right. Yes.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. So just as a reminder, we have a meeting set as of right now for the 25th of August. That will be the continuation of the pen ordinance. And I'm going to try to keep the calendar clear for the rest of August. But if you guys have issues that you feel are important and need to come up, if they're simple, we could take them up on the 25th. But if there's a couple of things that seem to be adding up, let me know, and we'll try to get them in before the 25th. But right now, it looks like we can keep it clear.